can do your Nick impression.
I'll be real.
Be like,
hey,
this is Friday Gamer.
I take this seriously, Blake. I'm not gonna, I can't nick it up.
Yeah, you can't nick it up.
I can't, see it up. Hello, and welcome to episode 44 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm Severn. I'm joined with Blake.
Hey.
Special guest George and
What up?
Ed.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
It's alright.
Sweet.
It's fantastic.
Jeez, how do I do this?
You wanted to be hosting, bro. This is
I
taking
need
on
your
these
help, guys.
responsibilities, eh?
All right.
Help.
Yeah, man, this is tricky.
Yeah.
All right, we're back from NZGDC.
Oh yeah,
which
that's
just
right,
happened
we are.
recently.
Yeah.
Did anyone learn anything from that?
Nah.
It's meant to be the New Zealand version of GDC.
Yeah.
And geez, there were a lot of indie talks, is what I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I don't know, like, as a concept artist going there's never really anything to go and watch.
Mm.
You get the indie talks, but you're kind of just like working at a company that's like, yeah, I mean, we're indie, but we've got like 100 people, so it's kind of just like the standard's a bit higher for the art talks or whatever. So I kind of just think, it's good enough and good to see like people being inspired and shit, but at the same time, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, because I've been going for a few years now, and it's like you never really learn anything new. Like, you're not learning any new techniques or anything like that.
Not at all.
It's more like just interesting stories about people's like development journeys.
It's never anything groundbreaking. There's no like new steps and like concept art or like ways of going about things. Do you know what I mean? It's all just kind of like
It's a lot of postmortems. I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Learning from your experience type thing.
Yeah.
But that's what it is.
They have had they had some workshops on that. I think maybe like if you wanted to learn stuff, you go and do that. But that's then just like you're taking a class.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
It wasn't really anything specific either. It was like get into Unreal or Unity. Are those the ones you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty broad still, man. I went to
Really?
that Unreal one, and it was kind of...
It's like, here's how you open a file.
Well, it was it was open up one of these templates,
Oh, right.
and this is how blueprints work.
I think it
You know.
benefits the students more than anything, eh? Like,
Oh,
those
for
are the
sure,
guys that are
actually,
going to be, like, benefiting the most from these tickets. I mean, like, work pays per hours, so I'm just more than happy to go because it's, like, free day off work, like, whatever. But, like, as a student, you kind of go in there and you're networking and you're, like, learning all this shit that you would never have seen before from people that have actually got experience. So I think, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, we would have benefited a lot more than now.
Yeah, it's hard for someone like me to go there and learn it. Well, art talks were just rough. They weren't really anything like tailored to 3D art, especially and 2D,
same
right?
thing here, bro.
At like a high level.
Yeah, that's
even.
totally it. That's totally it. So, I talked to Ben, one of the guys that does it, about doing an art talk next year because I was just like, there's just nothing here that's...
Dude, that's how I felt as well. I felt like after hearing Ken Wong talk, I was thinking, geez, maybe it is my time to give back to the industry.
Totally.
Like,
That's
to
what I
shine.
felt as well because I just feel like there's not enough. Like we work at the biggest game company in New Zealand now. Now that Game Loft is closed down, and like a lot of the people giving these art talks are kind of like at smaller studios. So I mean, I think going to those things as like a game designer or a programmer, you're going to benefit because it's just all the talks seem to be benefit like around those, and that's like especially in the programming side, it develops so quickly. Whereas like the art and animation side, you're still using the same programs that you used 5 years ago, even though they're just updated versions or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I've been working as a freelance concept artist since I was like 19, and I've only ever needed Photoshop. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll step into 3D just to get stuff done quicker.
Man, dude, I went to I saw Jason Hong pop out of it too.
Yeah.
Jason Hong's like master level 2D artist.
He's the top dog at GGG.
It was hilarious.
yo.
We went into this art talk and it was, I think it was titled like technical art or something. It was a guy, but a lot of his slides were just graphs and like numbers and stuff. And I saw and like after that talk, we went right to lunch, and I caught Jason. I was like, dude, what did you learn anything? And he was like, man, I thought that was going to be an art talk. And then the guy was just showing me slides and like draw call counts and graphs and things.
Pie charts and shit.
Dude, it was not an art talk. And that was the point where I was like, man, yeah, like if I want to hear something like interesting, I think I probably have to step up and actually do that.
No,
talk.
totally though, because I think it's the same thing.
You
like,
know what I mean?
Like I went to a few of the art talks and that was what it was. There was like no art involved. It was
broad
all
as
about
hell.
like the programming side of it. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Their talk titles were pretty vague most of the time.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually found like some of the talks more interesting when it was like nothing to do with my area. You know what I mean? Like the sound talks and stuff like that were like way more interesting to me than anything else. Not that the talks were bad, but it just wasn't anything new. So I suppose it's kind of like that expectation of like going into an art talk thinking, oh, I'm going to learn something here.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you go into a talk that's got nothing to do with your area, then you're kind of like, oh shit, well I did learn something.
But then there's a whole bunch of sound guys in the audience going, oh, I didn't learn anything.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah,
it.
that's probably what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the talks I enjoyed the most were about like storytelling and narrative and stuff.
Totally. Yeah,
which is
those were
something
great.
I never deal with ever.
Even thought about it.
Yeah. And yeah, they were really good.
Like I actually found that Rory and Mark's talk was one of the best talks that I went to. And it's like I work with the dudes like every day. You know what I mean? But like just seeing how they go about designing bosses is so much more in depth than what you initially think. But it's like that with anything. Like you start to look into something a bit more and you kind of find out, holy shit, this is like Inception, bro. There's so many more layers deep than you'd actually initially think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're like, we work like 40 hours a week. What are these guys doing?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they tell
exactly.
you
It's
in
exactly
like a 1 hour presentation. You're like, oh yeah, this is why these guys are here.
yeah, exactly. You're like, holy fuck, there's so much work that they actually do that you don't even think about, Yeah, for sure.
I think that's what I get most out of GDC. I mean, I've only been to 2 now, but like, it's just hearing people talk about what they love doing.
Yeah.
And that is usually enough. I didn't get much of it the first day, but second day, there was like a lot of people talking about just interesting shit. There's never anything about, well, actually, no, there was one thing about animation and it was from a student,
Yeah.
which is pretty crack up.
Yeah.
He did a good talk, actually.
Oh, this is the exaggeration in video games?
Yeah. He made this like quick little demonstration in Unreal, where he was showing off like basically how you can use exaggeration to make opening a chest more interesting. It's like he had like a boring as fuck one, and then a few
That's also like first day of animation, isn't it? Like of animation class.
that's animation 101.
Yeah. Like I remember learning that, but it's still just it's still fun to hear and have that kind of reiterated, and you're like, because it those principles were all invented for 2D and stuff like that, and then to see it in those still frames that he showed of like Overwatch, where the guy's face was like 5 times longer than it should be.
Yeah.
But you that's only like a 1 frame thing.
I was
and
actually
it's just like this is like a really important thing, even in just like regular video games.
Totally.
I was a little embarrassed because I didn't notice any of that.
Right.
Smearing happened. Like I knew it was like Pixar style animation, but like I didn't even consider that they were doing all that bendy shit. But I did actually later that night I jumped on Overwatch and had a look at like Zenyatta's movements and shit, and he does like go all bendy arms and
Yeah,
shit.
totally, man. It's crazy. It's like a Pixar cartoon, that thing.
Yeah.
Like the whole way,
It's so good.
Well, it's what makes it good, They've just nailed their art style
Yeah.
so ruthlessly in that game. It's just unbelievable.
Did you guys see the Bastion CG trailer?
Yeah.
That
Last
was
Bastion,
really, really good.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. Especially when they
Yeah.
had the flashbacks of the fight scenes and you saw the
Oh,
Reinhardts
man.
like fighting the
Yeah.
Bastions. I was like, oh shit.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so
Yeah.
well done as well. I was like, holy crap, man, this is amazing.
I really like. I really enjoy when birds are animated like real birds.
Yeah. What you mean with like the jerky head
Yeah,
movements
with the
and shit
jerky
like
head
that?
movements
yeah.
and stuff like that. Like I really like that.
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
it's really weird because it's like weirdly realistic, but you can't help but kind of feel a bit of empathy towards them for
Yeah.
some weird fucking reason. I don't get it either. You're just like, why? But
It's
at
the
same
head
time, you're
tilt,
like,
man.
yeah,
It's that.
it's that. That's what it is.
Yeah, that puppy dog head tilt. Tugs at the heartstrings.
Yeah, man, it fucking hits you right in the feels.
Yeah, right in them fields.
Right in them feels, man.
All right, man. Let's start off with what we've been playing. Blake, you've been light on it.
Oh
but
man,
you said you've played some things, right?
I
Stellaris?
stopped playing something.
Yep, No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I
we
stopped playing No
won't
Man's
talk about
Sky.
that game.
Yeah, I feel like I've spent 3 or 4 weeks just non-stop talking to people about that game because everyone is saying like how bad it is, and I'm just like constantly trying to say this is what I like about
You're
it.
the
but-
go-to guy for it, though. You're the only guy at work playing it properly.
Yeah,
So everyone's like, bro, we need our reviews,
Probably
man.
going the opposite way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I never got to the edge. I gave up because, well, that game, like, just like how in Minecraft or any survival game I play, I tend to just like fizzle out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and that totally is what happened to me. I just like got to a point where I didn't even enjoy exploring the planets anymore. I was just like, I want to get to the edge. That's all I want to do. And so I was like flying to, when I needed to refuel, I would stock up hardcore on like fuel cells so I could jump really far. But then when I did need to refuel, I'd look for a system that only had like 1 or 2 planets in because I didn't want to bother like exploring like 6 planets or whatever. And at that point I started thinking like, I think I'm losing it on this game now.
Like that's the thing with any kind of exploration style game, though. You know what I mean? Like it fizzles out because there's like way less intensity.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's that intensity that'll keep you into a game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the same thing with Skyrim. Once you've kind of explored a lot, you're still like at a certain point you just realize like, fuck, I'm just walking around.
Yeah.
Like
it's once it becomes like normal to you.
yeah, for sure.
Once you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
discovering anything new, and once you kind of know what to expect, then
You're not surprised
you
anymore,
lose
right?
interest in
Yeah,
it.
totally.
Yeah. Once you're not surprised anymore, then that's it. Although having said that, one of the last planets I visited did have something I'd never seen before.
Oh,
which was
shit.
like, yeah, it had these like weird floating like puffball things that you shot and that you got a rare resource from, but that wasn't enough to keep me in the game. Yeah.
Fair
Are
enough,
they
man.
still updating that game?
I haven't seen an update for ages.
Okay, they
Like,
must be working hard on something.
Oh, dude,
yeah,
they-
maybe.
I
I
think
mean-
like from what I've heard, they need just a bit more of a storyline to it. Eh? Like I totally get the whole thing is that like it's procedurally generated and that's like interesting, but it's kind of like, dude, you need to dig deeper than just a whole bunch of potholes. You need one like massive cave at some point just to kind of like get into and understand the lore and like all that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's like I don't think they need a like a traditional like main story kind of thing. Like they don't need Mass Effect in there. I think what they need is like more emphasis on like lore stuff and finding like artifacts and stuff and piecing together like some sort of like larger mystery kind of thing. Like you want it to be kind of like a treasure hunting thing. You want it to be like an Indiana Jones adventure that spans an entire like
Universe type thing, yeah. Should be awesome.
And there's just not enough in it. Like when you go into a cave, like caves are cool sometimes, but ultimately there's nothing in them.
Yeah,
You don't
totally.
like you. It would be awesome if like you got to the end of one cave out of like maybe 10 and there's like an entrance to a secret lab or or some altar to some weird Cthulhu god or something, just something to make you go, damn, this is
What the fuck's
this is
going on
strange.
here,
What the
right?
hell is
Yeah.
going on here? Yeah, but instead it's just like
It's just a cave, bro. Yeah. There's some plants in here. Nah, fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, for sure,
Yeah.
man. I totally get it. Yeah.
But
Just
yeah,
like real life, really.
yeah. I mean,
I've never
that's why we
found-
play video games, man, so we can find the Cthulhu gods. Like, come on.
Yeah. That's why I don't go outside. I'm just constantly disappointed.
Yeah. These graphics are so unrealistic.
Yeah. So I'm not getting any kind of reward system
Yeah.
from
What
this.
the hell's with these special effects outside, bro? The smoke doesn't even look right. What's going on?
you need those 4K glasses. is
Yeah.
what you need. Put those on and then
Those high resolution textures and shit.
yeah, those high vis glasses. But yeah, I haven't really been playing anything. I've been playing a bit of Stellaris and this other game called Europa Universalis, which is like an empire building kind of diplomacy thing.
Yep.
It's like medieval spreadsheets.
It sounds right up your alley.
It's funny because I've been playing it for like a couple of hours and I keep restarting because I just like instantly kind of lose.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
So it's pretty hard to.
it's hard. It's tough. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, dude, I'm just gonna move right along.
No, go for it, man. Because I think that's it.
Did any of you guys play the Battlefield beta?
No, but I
Yep.
saw some of it and it
You
looked
played it?
fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Dude, holy shit!
I
what
played
are
it
your
on
thoughts?
PS4 though.
Oh yeah.
Because my brother has only got a PS4,
Yep.
so we did it on that. Fucking amazing though.
Dude, yeah. I played that over, I think, last weekend.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a ball of a time.
It
That
was
fantastic.
way like I was expecting it to be fun, but it was even better than I thought it would
Yeah,
be.
yeah. And like, how many people were in a map when you were playing?
They were usually full games.
Yep. So 100
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
So there's 100 people in these
it's
games.
ridiculous,
That's
man.
fucking awesome.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's the level, like the amount of players in this one level?
Yeah.
Tabbed it. There's 50 people on each team.
Oh man,
maxed
it's
out.
so cool. Oh, because I mean,
yeah.
I saw the trailers for it and some of the gameplay. Like I saw that dude riding a horse, shooting that flamethrower. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
that was the
With, like,
best
two
thing.
people on the
Yeah,
horse.
is that the guy on
yeah.
the- yeah.
I lost my shit when I saw that. I was like, I've got to get this game just because of this.
I just
but yeah,
thought like fucking video games.
Yeah, because like the graphics for that game are amazing.
It's,
I was just sitting
it's
there watching,
ridiculous,
like, holy
man.
shit.
Everything they pulled off in like Battlefront,
Yeah.
like that photogrammetry stuff, dude, they pulled everything over. Like those environments are incredible. The lighting's, I haven't
Yeah.
seen a game like that, and I was blown away as soon as I logged on and played it on my machine. It's like, holy fuck! Like just looking at rocks, I was like, holy shit! This is incredible. This is like, you know,
How did you find it? Because like you know how like a lot of the first person shooters these days have gone towards the whole okay, well we've done World War One, so let's move towards something more techie so that we can kind of add in like extra features that you obviously can't have like in a World War One game or like whatever. So how did you find it compared to that? Because I mean it is
dude,
like, you know, old school.
I know nothing about World War One.
Yeah,
But-
it's World War Two on the History Channel way. Yeah,
But I've heard people talk about it, and they've definitely hammed it up, you know,
Yeah.
to make it a functioning shooter. Like
Yeah.
so that it's not clunky. So it's not like we've got tanks that break down every, you know, whatever.
yeah.
It's just a awesome. Like I'd like to think of it as a first-person shooter wrapped in like World War One like
Yeah.
theme.
Mm.
But that's pretty much it. It plays fantastic. Like I really fucking enjoyed it.
Like the planes are way more agile than they were
Yeah.
in reality. Like apparently they could only turn left or something back in those days. But no,
Like Zoolander.
yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah, no, you can like fly them under rocks and shit.
Oh fuck, that's
Um,
sick, bro.
Dude, back in the day, like when they wanted to drop bombs, they were just like hand dropping
Yeah,
them
yeah.
from the pilot's
That's
seat.
like
Yeah,
the
you're-
most boss
you're not-
way of doing it.
Yeah.
You're not hand dropping bombs.
Just throwing bombs at people,
Yeah,
bro.
just like, chucking them.
It's fucking cool though, because like I looked up at some of the bombers flying around, and they're fucking huge. They're like these massive
Right.
ass, like multi-winged planes.
I don't think they had
Just, like,
did they
drifting
have- I'm
around.
sure they didn't have those in World War One. I
Yeah,
thought it was
man.
all
They
like
were
Wasn't
No,
there?
they
Red
did.
Baron planes. Like I'm sure that was.
they had big bombers. Like they weren't like the World War II ones.
Yeah.
Like big, and they were just larger looking ones of
Okay.
the Red Baron type ones.
Huh.
But fuck man, like there was one point I was playing with my brother, and he was we're just running around shooting shit, and he's like, "Oh shit, look, there's a sandstorm coming in."
Oh wow.
And this big fucking wall of sand and dust just starts sweeping across the map, like slowly, like you see in like fucking nature documentaries and
yeah.
shit.
Oh wow.
Like they just nailed the look of it. And there was this plane flying in front of it, and you see it like turn around and start like making a break for it, like
shit.
fuck, and like it was just so real. Like
Yeah.
they
That's
just
awesome.
fucking
I
nailed
hope
it.
I hope like a sandstorm or storm like that would actually affect how the planes pilot.
Yeah, totally. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because you can't see shit once it hits. You can like
Right.
your view distance gets heavily
So
restricted.
a plane
you
wouldn't
can
see anything.
yeah, you can like I don't know if it actually affects how you fly, but it definitely like you've got a high chance of just flying into something.
Yeah.
That's going to be an awesome thing to throw in for just the players that are on the ground though as well. Because you're going to be
Yeah.
wandering around like, okay, if I'm a sniper. I don't got no idea what the fuck I'm doing now. And then suddenly you walk into like a nest of just dudes that are standing there waiting out the storm.
That's
Just
great.
get blasted out and shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Put a
'Cause-
grenade in there.
There were like houses all around the place.
Mm.
So like, you know, the sandstorm hits and you're like, fuck, we'll just go inside.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's fine. So like, yeah, it fully changes like how everyone starts
That's
to
awesome
fight.
though. It's so awesome to be able to play a game that is so suddenly affected by like an outside thing that's going
Yeah.
to change the way you play it.
And
You
it's
know what I mean?
random as well. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
at this point in the match there's going to be a sandstorm. It's like it could happen, it could not. There was
Yeah.
also fog rolled in, which was different again.
So what were the levels like? Because I've seen the desert levels and like the
it
kind
was just the one on the beta.
of is the only one on the
it
beta?
was
is
just that
Oh, yeah.
desert
Yeah,
one.
2 different game modes.
Tatooine.
Tatooine. yeah.
Dude, yeah, it's badass. Like, you've got a knife, right? As
Well,
like
you've got
second
you got a bunch of weapons.
Dude,
like,
you've even
melee
got a
weapons.
gas mask.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah. So in like Battlefield 4, you had like a laser sight. They've switched that out for a gas mask. So if there's like gas clouds around, you just chuck that on.
Yeah.
Run through it.
Do you have to do the do you have to like change your filter or anything like that? Is there anything like or is it just like you
I don't
put the
think
gas
so. I
mask
think
on
you've
and
just
it's
got to
fine?
remember to put it on.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll start choking. One great thing that they've added though is like the maneuverability. Like you can climb over head-high walls and shit now.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And like if you're sprinting and you come across a door, you can just barge it down like Cam.
Yeah, like
That's an in joke there.
Yeah, sorry, inside joke, boys.
Yeah, like the movement is so much better. Like I remember playing Doom.
Yeah.
And like just the ability to look at a ledge, jump at it, and you'll grab it and pull it up.
It makes all the difference towards gameplay and stuff as well.
It makes movement feel so much more natural.
So do you think it's going to take you away from Overwatch?
It's a hard one. It depends how many other people jump in on it. Eh?
Yeah.
Like, because Overwatch is amazing for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, Overwatch is like that intimacy of Overwatch, like
It's
6
a
on
tight
6.
group. Yeah, for sure.
Like it's amazing. There are two games doing the same thing, but in completely different ways.
Different scales and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like you can't be someone who gets shot at a bunch of times in Battlefield.
Yeah, for sure. You're not going to be a tank, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, unless you
get it. Yeah, fair enough. Actually,
it was crazy. Like because you know how the World War I tanks are like these real crazy designs.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
There was like 2 moments where like I'd go around a corner or over a ridge, and I'd be looking at this weird object, and just be like, "What the fuck is that?" And it like turns around, it's like, "Oh shit, it's a tank!" and start like bailing for it. And like I thought that must have happened in real life because World War One, like
it's the first time they were ever used.
there would be like Bosnian chicken farmers who had never heard of a tank.
Yeah,
you'd see this big metal thing and be like, "What is that?" And then suddenly it blows up your mate.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine like being in the trench and just hearing the ground rumble and be like, "What the hell is that?"
what
and
the
then
fuck
this giant tread thing comes over you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh my
That
God.
would be crazy though, because like if you'd never seen anything like that before, it must be been like like say like back in the day when like the Spanish dudes started invading like South America and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's like some dude must have some like Aboriginal guy standing on like the shore or something and sees like a boat turn up.
You mean the end of Apocalypto?
Yeah. But it's just like you see like a boat turn up and you're like, what the fuck is that? And then you see like people get off it and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this? Like, that must have been what it was like.
It's like
see a tank
aliens
turn up and you're like,
invading.
what's going on, bro? Is this
And
a
then
god?
they point a stick at you, and then fire comes out of the end, and you die, and you're like, "What the hell was that?"
These special effects, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I heard a story that just on World War One that like apparently the machine gun was invented then.
Yeah.
And like wars before that were the ones where you'd march up in a group.
Yeah.
You'd load up your gun and
Musket.
you'd shoot at the other guy. Like you just take turns or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'd
Turn-based
never
combat.
seen a freaking machine gun. And so this thing was just plowing people down and they were just
dude.
marching.
Just cannon fodder for
Dude,
days.
yeah. And the commanders were just marching people at this thing
Because that's what they
and getting
knew.
mowed down.
Dude, what's his name? The guy that does Hardcore History. He had a really good thing about World War One, and how like most of the nations involved were completely unprepared for the like mechanized warfare, and the French were so unprepared that their cavalry was still basically wearing armor and swords.
Oh my god.
And with like big poofy like feathers and like
Looking
from,
fabulous,
like,
ready for war.
from like the Napoleon like conquest
They get some
era.
shit in their back
yeah,
pockets.
and so they just charged out, waving their swords on their like brightly colored, and just got slaughtered completely. Yeah,
Holy shit.
Have you heard those stories about like mustard gas or whatever?
I've heard about like I think it was from World War II though, about like firebombing and stuff. That was like pretty ruthless.
Yeah. Oh, okay, all right. Enough World War
I know
One
about
talk.
mustard gas and the peeing on a rag to
What?
mustard gas. How you pee on the rag to stop it from poisoning you.
I think that's an urban legend, man.
No, the Canadians
No,
figured
I'll
out.
show you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a story
before they like got gas masks all prepared and shit.
Yeah.
They would just piss on a handkerchief or something and
Really?
put it over their
Wonder
mouth.
how they found that out, eh? It wasn't even on purpose, eh? They were just doing it for the lols, and they're like, we survived, boys. What are we doing right here? I don't understand. It's just the thing the Canadians do as a pastime.
Just like that one weird guy in the army who like loves to sniff his own piss or something.
You can't understand why he survived the war. It's just like, don't worry, bro. Just
Dude,
pissing
tell us your
myself, eh?
secret,
It's all
man.
good.
Tell
It's
us.
like jellyfish, G. It doesn't even matter, eh? That's awesome.
Dude, okay. Have you guys been playing anything?
Nah, man. Like when I was on the podcast last time, obviously I was like balls deep into Pokemon.
Yep.
So that lasted all of like 2 weeks.
Pokeballs
Like,
deep in Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokeballs deep in Pokemon,
Yeah.
man. That lasted all of kind of 2 weeks, and then it fizzled out like it did, for everybody. And
Yeah,
you suddenly just
yeah.
never hear of it again. All the
It
Pokemon memes
dropped.
stopped.
It had
yeah.
a hard drop off. I saw in the news. Like,
Yeah, it just, I don't know, man. It just needed that extra content of like being able to battle each other and stuff. Like, it's just one of those things that's like, dude, like you've got such a game that's just come out and hit so heavily. You need to keep following it up with shit because this is going to run out so quick. And then it just did, and everyone's like, fuck it. You know what I
I
mean?
think also because weren't they actually pretty tight-lipped about what they're actually working on next?
Yeah, I
Like,
got no idea. Right? I haven't.
They're
really
not
looked into
like
it.
they're not keeping like players informed of what's coming.
Nah, exactly. You got to keep the hype train going.
You got to
yeah.
keep that hype train going because otherwise people go, well, nothing seems to be coming on the horizon.
Well, that's
I'm
exactly
gonna
it. And there's
stop
only so
playing.
many times I can throw balls at Pokemon before I'm kind of like, I need a bit of extra gameplay than
Yeah,
just
yeah.
tapping and throwing. You
Or
know
at
what
least
I mean?
just know that like
yeah,
something
exactly.
good is coming.
Exactly.
Just,
yeah.
Because then you're like, is this it? If that's it, then I'm done. Yeah.
But yeah, so now I've just still been heavily into Overwatch since then.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's my main bay. So I'm sticking with getting into that competitive mode.
Who's your main?
Bro, my mains either Farrah or Reinhardt.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, boy, gotta charge down those doors, dog.
Oh yeah,
Smash that
charge
shit
down
out
those
it.
doors. Yeah.
Nah, Overwatch has got real good recently. Actually, since the new competitive patch came out, I think it's a lot better. It's a lot tougher.
Right. What did they change?
So like they changed the ranking system, and I think it works a lot better. They've basically spread out the ranks from like because it used to be like 1 to 100 to like 1 to 5,000 now, and
Okay.
you get grouped in groups of 500. So say if you're like between like 2,000 and 2,500, you've got like a gold rank, and above that it's like platinum, or below that it's like silver and bronze or whatever.
Okay.
So the groupings work a lot better to match you up with players of like the same skill because the skill margin is like wider now, but it makes more sense because like the difference between what it used to be like a rank like 35 to like a 40 was like massive. Like it was huge, and like you'd get players that would just get carried by teams that would have like higher ranks or whatever. So that doesn't happen as much now. Like there's still issues with it and shit like that, but I think it's a lot better. It's made the games a lot more fun, and I've got a lot more mates on it now as well. So it's kind of like filling out those 6-man teams help a lot.
How many people from work are playing it,
Um,
or do you play with regularly from work?
from work, no one really, apart from you, Ed. Really,
Yeah.
like Cam was in it, and then he was just like, "Nah, bro, Legion's coming out." But
Oh,
we play
right,
with Cam's
yeah.
girlfriend. It's mainly her mates. You know what I mean? Like randoms that you kind of play
pretty
with, and you
weird.
just like start adding them, and then suddenly they're your like
Yeah.
internet weirdo friends and shit. But yeah, nah, it's real good, man. Fuck, I'm like still so nuts about that game, eh? It's
Yep.
so good.
It's real fun to have a like full 6-player team. Eh?
Yeah, totally.
And just like simple shit like being able to call out where danger's coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Because I mean, when you go into it solo queued, like you're gonna get one or two things. You're either gonna get a team that wants to talk and work together real well, or you're gonna get a team where there's one super salty dude that's telling everyone to fuck off,
Yeah.
and no one else is saying anything, and then you just lose because no
Dude,
one's got any fucking synergy whatsoever.
That was my experience during the beta, and it
Yeah.
made me really like not like the game.
Oh, dude, it's so like that, and yeah, I don't know. I think that's the weird thing about it is that like. It's better when there's competitive play out because quick play now is just totally fun. Like you don't have like I don't feel any pressure, whatever. When I'm playing quick play, I can do whatever I want. It's I can pick a character that I've never played before, and I don't really care about the stats because it's quick play.
Yep.
But when you're in competitive, you stick to your mains and you stick to like how you know how to play, and it's so much more intense. And it's awesome when you win, but when you lose, you're fucked off, man. You know.
But then, like we were saying just before that, when you lose because of the matches are so fast, you're just like, all right, I'm just going to do another one.
Yeah,
you know,
totally,
Because
totally.
they're what like. How long is a match normally?
Man, it
like,
can be anything, man.
15, 20 minutes?
Nah. Like, I've played matches where it's been like 2 minutes. Like, in competitive, it's longer because you've got to have 2 matches at a minimum to kind of balance out the stats and see who progressed the furthest.
Yeah.
So, like, a competitive match will probably last about 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
Quick play can be anywhere from like 2 minutes if you're really good to, 5 to 7 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Blizzard's really like perfected that match.
Oh,
like,
dude,
timing.
that game will keep you interested for ages
Yeah.
just because of how how skilled the characters are that you have to learn. Like obviously there's easier characters to learn than other ones that are like harder, like DPS characters and shit like that. But also the intensity of the matches and how short they are will keep you going for ages. Like it's been weird, man. I've been going home like almost every day since Overwatch came out and been playing it from like 7 until like 1 in the morning.
Oh man.
And I'm not bored of it, like
Yeah.
at all. I've clocked up like 200 hours now, and I'm just like, holy fuck, man!
you
This
go to
game
bed
is still
just being like one more match.
yeah, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I need that golden weapon, eh? Like, come on, bro, I need those points.
It's so easy to do. Just get
Yeah.
like sucked into
Yeah.
a stream of playing that game.
Yeah,
But yeah, I remember before it came out, because like I thought it looked cool, but I was like, I don't know, from playing League of Legends or Dota or something, like I tried those games and been put off by the community. I was like, there's just going to be a whole bunch of like little bitches whining about you not playing properly.
Yep.
But I actually found there's a way less of it than I thought there would be. there's like you come across the odd douchebag, but usually people are pretty intolerant of that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
They just kind of poke at them and go, stupid angry motherfucker.
Do you think that is because the matches are so short? Like the investment into that one game and how well you do is not really that much. So, like, I don't know, people don't get as intense because, like in Dota, you got like 40-minute games that you don't want to spend most of an hour and then end up losing because one or two people are crappy.
I'd say that definitely helps.
Yeah.
But also with, like George was saying, with quick play and competitive, like I don't play competitive just because I don't know, I don't play often enough to I don't want to drag down a team with my inconsistent play.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it as well.
But I'd say that helps.
Yeah. I definitely think it's one of those things where it's who you know on there as well. Like I probably wouldn't play competitive as much if I was just playing solo.
Right.
Like totally, man. Like because that's in solo queue is where you kind of come across the douchebags and shit. Like I don't care. Like I can take shit and I'll just give shit back because I like don't give a fuck. Like whatever. Yeah. But I can totally see how like like a kid's gonna be playing that and some fucking 25-year-old dude is gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's not gonna want to play it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I totally get getting pissed off at that game because like that's what makes it good. You know what I mean? Like if you're not getting angry at a game, you're not immersed in it. So you're just kind of just like, well, when you win really well and you're super ecstatic, and when you lose you're fucked off, but that's what keeps you kind of going. But I mean in competitive I'm normally always playing with like a 5 or 6 man team,
right?
And I think the thing is that like these people and they're getting angry with you, and it's more of a thing of like, what do we do wrong? How do we change it? And like you're kind of salty together. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to like blaming. It's so easy to blame it all on one person in a solo queue, as opposed to like
it's someone you don't know, and someone that like it's different if like you're trying to blame one person that like in your group, and they can just like give you shit back.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly it. And I mean, it still happens in competitive, like where we'll have like a 5-man team, we'll have like one random, and then if we lose, we're like, that random sucked. Like, you're useless, bro. What are you doing? But I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't find the community that bad on Overwatch. Like, I've definitely got pissed off at people before, but I mean, you're just pissed off because you lost. You know what I mean? And your rank goes down, and you're kind of like, oh god, I was so close to like getting that platinum rank, and now I'm like 200 points off from the 20 away I was from, But I mean, the games are so short, you can just keep going. Yeah, you can just keep going, and then and I think it's one of those things as well where you kind of like step away, and when you step away, you realize it's just a fucking game, man. Like,
that's true.
Like I'm not going professional. Like, come on, you know what I mean? But you just those dreams get instilled in you when you start having like good matches and shit. So I don't know.
I think that should go for a lot of games. Like sometimes people get so devoted into the games that you do need to step back and say, man, this is just a game. It's not like the end of the world.
Totally, that's totally it. But
it is for entertainment.
I think the thing is though is that it's that thing where, because there is so much skill in the game, and it's such a team-based game, so it's not only your own skill, it's like understanding the composition of the team and what's needed to change. Yeah. That level of depth brings you to a point where you kind of start learning it and shit like that. And when you become invested in it like that, that's when you're like, okay, well, it might just be a game, but it's still something that I'm trying to get good at. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if you've got that competitive nature, then that type of game is just going to suck you in. And that's why it's so easy to get sucked into it, I think, because that's what happens. And next thing you know, you're like 8 hours later trying to fucking achieve different ranks and shit.
Oh, I do find that the people who complain a lot are usually the ones who are less likely to like change a character to help the team, or like they're usually just shit. Yeah,
it's the guys that pick DPS characters that want the glory, but then don't do fuck all because they don't know how to play them properly, and then suddenly you're stuck as like I don't mind playing support, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm more than happy to go healer if I'll do it, like whatever. But you get these people that play DPS and they don't know how to do it, and they're like complaining that they're not getting heals, and it's kind of like, dude, I can't heal you if I keep dying because none of these characters have fucking died that you haven't killed yet. Like,
it's like somebody wants to play Han Solo and have everyone else support them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's exactly
they
what
think
it is.
Teamwork is everyone supports me.
Yeah, why is no one doing exactly what I want? Why aren't we playing as a team?
And that's exactly it. Yeah.
There's no teamwork.
The thing is that when you've got mates online that you work with in a group, like that's the best thing about it. Like we know in our group, like who's the good DPS, who's the good support, like who's the good tank, like. And like I'm more than happy to fill out those roles, you know. Like I normally play like a Rain as like a tank, and I'm like I'll get like a medal every time for like kills and shit like that. But it's like, I know that my mate is a better DPS than I am, and I'm more than happy to like stand in front of him with a shield while he fucking wipes them out, and I like escort a payload or whatever, because you know that you're working together, and that synergy is like,
the team is more important than you getting that headshot.
That's totally it, bro. But like, you still improve because of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do, because that's the way that you advance in that game as a team. Like me and my friends have come up against teams that have just completely outclassed us because they know what they're doing, who's good at what role, and we were just like, we were a bunch of Han Solo.
Exactly. Just trying to get your own kills and shit. And forgetting that, like, and I mean, that happens, man. Like, there's definitely been games where like as a Reinhardt, right? Like I've mained him and I've got like 60 hours on him now, or like some shit like that, like so much hours. And like his whole thing is that like if you're on like a payload level, you've just got to stand on that thing and just push that shit forward. And you kind of realize at some points, like if you're playing with randoms, they're all off having random fights around the map, but forgetting that if we just stuck to this payload, we'd be winning, because they wouldn't be able to do anything, because we're going to have like this condensed team of 6 against like these random dudes that are running in constantly one by one and getting slaughtered. But they don't. And then suddenly you're like this Rain getting flanked by like 2 characters, and like if that happens to you, like you might have like the most health and shield out of the entire game, but you're still a melee character that's going to get wiped out by anybody with a ranged weapon. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, but yeah, man, that game is fucking awesome.
There's such a noticeable difference between a team that plays together and like just goes off and does their own shit. Like teamwork accounts for so much in that game. Like you just easily roll another team if you
just understanding what's needed.
I mean, that goes for like their other game, like Heroes of the Storm, is exactly the same. Like once a team starts actually working together and communicating properly, then they just steamroll teams that don't.
Yeah. But you still get those people who are just like, I'm going to be a fucking one-man army. And
and they're not, because the
game
isn't built around being a one-man army. It's about being a team.
Yeah.
It's usually Genjis.
I think that's like those Genji carries.
Genjis.
I think that's still like the only problem that I do still have with it in the competitive is the fact, like, they have fixed it to a degree, which is quite good. Is the fact that if you lose, you still lose points.
Right.
They fix it to a degree now where if you got like medals, say if you win a game and you've got like a lot of medals, you're going to still get way more points that add towards your rank. So like if you win, you're going to get a certain amount, but if you've got medals, you're going to earn more.
Okay.
And if you lose, but you've played really well, you're going to lose less points, but you still lose points.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that still kind of gets me. Like I don't know. Like I think that initially, if you win or lose a game, there should be like a base rate of like you lose 20 points or you win 20 points, and then depending on how well you played in that game, you can either decrease that or whatever. So if you're like you lose the game, but you got like 4 golds on your team, you could potentially still win points, but it'll be way less because you had the initial drawback of that kind of shit.
Yeah. So the losing team would start. Well, once the points are tallied, they start at like -20 or something.
Yeah.
And then how well you do is just taking off from that. So you may end up not losing anything.
But then if you did do super shit and you didn't get anything, then you'd lose more,
You'd
which
lose
I can totally
more.
agree with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it could mean that like I'm still gaining points because I'm on a team that's losing, but I'm still playing really well. And I think that that's kind of like the mix of, you know, ranked play where it's a team game, but you're still soloing quite well or whatever. Like that's the only issue that I have with it. Whereas at the moment it's still just you're going to lose points or you're going to win them. And like, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, come on, man. Like sometimes you can't help who you're matched with, like especially you're in solo queue or whatever. Like, what are you supposed to do? You know, and it takes so long to get back to a certain point because, like, you know. But I mean, that's the only quarry that I have with the game. But I mean,
how do you feel about like how they determine the play of the match?
I don't know. I've got a few issues with it as well, just because it seems to be the same characters over and over.
Yeah.
And that's what's really weird is that like I've got mates that are and it's not Bastion anymore, bro. It used to be. It's more like Hanzos, Genjis, and Mercies that are getting plays of the game at the moment.
Oh, at least Mercy is getting something.
Oh, dude, yeah, like it was good. Like every so often you'd see like before, like, I think it's been since the latest patch. Like before this patch, you'd see Mercies get play of the games like every so often. But it would have to be like an awesome.
It'd have to be a team.
It would have to be like
something.
a 4 or more revive, which is fair enough. But now you're seeing like 2-person revives, and it's like a play of the match, and you're kind of like, but what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I think that they still need to kind of figure out a way to get like support characters more plays of the game because they can count for so much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like support characters are so core, like Zenyatta's and shit like that.
Yeah,
like everyone's like he's a support character. Dude, I swear to God, Zenyatta's wipe out more people than anybody else in that game. They just sit at the back line, just discording and just shooting off like shit, and they're super powerful because of it. You know what I mean?
A good Zenyatta does so much for a team, eh?
Like your brother is an insane Zenyatta, and it's just like when you've got a good Zen on your team, you're just like when you first started playing, you'd be like, oh, he's so weak, and now it's just like, dude, that's the tank killer right there.
But is he the kind of character that you don't actually, because you say he just kind of sits at the back throwing Discord orbs, like that is not as active as like jumping in the front line and like blowing away.
Well, it's not as active, but it's so effective, bro.
Yeah.
Usually how he gets play of the game is his ultimate.
Yeah.
It's like a big area of super healing.
Okay.
So if he like prevents a shit ton of damage by doing that, he'll get it.
Like sucking up other people's ultimates and shit like that. Same with divas, man. The amount of times that I've like played as Pharah and started popping off like an ulti from behind people, and a diva will turn around and just suck it all up with her thing. It's just infuriating, bro.
I love doing that.
Yeah. Like it's totally satisfying when you're the one doing it, but when you're like about to wipe out a team and that happens, that's the worst. I don't know. I still think they need to figure out a way to kind of stop Hanzos and Genjis and Divas and Orphenis getting those, because like, you know, all they've got to do is go in and just let it off, and you've got to wipe out 4 people instantly, and it's not interesting to watch. But sometimes you'll see like a play of the game from like a McCree or whatever, where it's just not even them doing an ulti, it's just them popping
Being
off
awesome.
like 4 fucking people at once, like just from playing well. Do you know what I mean? And that's the kind of plays that I like to see.
It needs to like detect what ultimates were used, you know, and maybe be like, prioritize a McCree just being awesome, over
just the amount of kills in one go.
Just like an ult killing a bunch of guys.
And I think that's one of the main reasons as well that I like to play Rain, is that like whenever Rain gets a play of the game, it's fucking sick, because his ult, like, his ult's good. Like his ult will wipe, you know, like make them all fall down or whatever, but it doesn't kill them. You know what I mean? So whenever you see a Rain play of the game, it's always like some dude getting charged, like fire strike getting thrown off, then an ulti getting thrown down, and finishing them off with like a hammer swing. So it always looks cinematic and sick. You know what I mean? As opposed to just a junk rat that's just got a like a wheel spinning around that something blows up and 3 people are dead or whatever. You know? So I mean, they do need to kind of fix that, but it's kind of like, I've got no idea how they would do it. Like, you know, everyone wants to see the mass kills.
Do you think it would be a cool idea to show your play of the game as well?
Well, I mean, you do
like
get highlights.
maybe not to everyone, because like it will take a long time after after the match.
Well, you do get highlights. You do get like a highlight reel that you can look into on your thing, like after the game, and it'll show like a moment from the game where you played really well. Like there's been heaps of times where like I would have done something that I thought that got play of the game, and then it didn't, because like a Mercy res like 4 people or whatever. I like the idea that you can save those, but you can't at the moment. Like, I mean, unless you've got like game recording tech.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they've got like the Facebook Live thing at the moment. I don't know. I'd like to be able to show that off. Like, even if you can view other people's career profiles, even if you could chuck some of those videos into that and be like, what's one of their best plays, and see how good they are from that standpoint, would be fucking sick. Like, I'd love that.
Yeah, if they could if you could mark one of these plays as your best play ever, and it's like right up there on your profile, and people can watch them.
That would be awesome. I would love that. I mean, I don't know how much space it's going to take up on the Overwatch
that's true.
servers and memory banks and shit.
Make it into a GIF.
Make it a GIF. Well, maybe they just like restricted to, I don't know, 3 or whatever.
Three
GIFs.
Or maybe
I don't know.
Like maybe if they had like a selection of like 3 videos that you could see like at the end of it, so there'd be like 3 plays of the game, and you could click on one to be like, okay, what did this person do? So you might not have necessarily seen like everyone see the same Mercy res or whatever. You might see like a Genji doing something crazy or whatever, and then like upvote it or some shit.
Because you're voting for stuff at the end anyway. You should vote for...
exactly. You should be able to vote for the play of the game, and then just, you know, whatever.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. But then it also is like it takes longer to get into the next match.
That's compromise, isn't it? It's just like, well, fuck, do you want to add this much shit to post match or whatever? I don't know. I definitely do get bored of seeing plays of the game where it's just a Hanzo shit through a wall and suddenly wiping out 3 people. But I mean, then you do see plays of the game that are just amazing.
I mean, since we're just speculating bullshit, if instead of like the one play of the game thing, like you say, you have 3, but they're playing at the same time, so you can just then pick on which one, and then it'll like blow out to the full screen. Instead of like watching one. Watching another, and then watching another one.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like, I mean, I'd like to see it, but I mean, that's not my like biggest issue with the game.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's-
I mean, you know, whatever it is what it is. I mean, mercy reses are pretty boring. Like, there's definitely been times where like we've got a mercy res on our team that has just completely saved us.
Yeah.
And just saved us from death in like the last 10 seconds of the game, which is awesome. But it's just boring to watch. You know,
Right.
like the play of the game should be the most like intense part of the battle that you get to see and whatever. You know,
I think it's just the nature of having a computer decide what's interesting.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it must be pretty damn hard to
Oh, yeah,
create
totally.
something that looks at that data and goes, "That'll be cool to watch."
yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't hold that much stock in play of the game. Like, I'm
totally,
more
bro.
into
It's just
the cards at the end.
Yeah. Seeing what those stats are, that's always pretty amazing.
Yeah, I always like getting on there. Yeah, and getting like 5 people upvote you for your
for your
work.
plays and shit. Yeah, especially when you've played really fucking well.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
You know, like there's definitely been matches where I've just been like, holy shit, if I don't get on this board at the end, and then you do, and you're like, you boy, I wiped you out. Like, no.
Wait, what is this card system?
So the card system is like, you get like these 4 things at the end that have like the players that kind of played the best, and it'll be their stats. So it might be like a mercy that like healed like 50% of the entire team's damage throughout the course of the game, or someone who got like crazy kill participation that got like 60% of the kills in the game, and then you basically upvote the one that you think's the best.
That's awesome.
And I think you get extra points from it if you get 5 votes on a thing, you get like a special stat. But then if you get 10 votes on it, because obviously you've only got like 6 players on each team.
Yeah.
I had one recently, which is the best match that I've ever played. Like it was like maybe a week or so ago. I played a Pharah, and we were playing a control map. So the whole point of it was like that you were killing people, and I got something like, I'm not sure if you were playing with me, Ed, or not, but I got something like 70% kill participation.
Oh, wow.
As a Pharah, I got like 64 eliminations and 40,000 damage done, which was like double the amount of damage that I've ever done in any one game. And I got voted from like everybody on my team and the other team.
Oh, wow,
just
that's
being like,
awesome.
fuck,
Yeah.
like you carried, bro. Do you know what I mean?
See, what's cool is even there, the other team is like, this
dude.
guy's pretty good. There's
Dude,
like a respect.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like if like when you're getting wiped out by another team, you're getting fucking angry, but you can totally respect the player.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like that with almost every character, unless it's a Genji. If you're going up against a Genji that's doing that, you're just pissed off. But if you're going up against a guy that's like, you know, anything else, you know, yeah. But I think that's always a cool thing to see, because you can just be like, holy shit, dude, you just saved this team with all of this shit.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. Dude, I'm gonna have to cut off this Overwatch conversation.
That's fair enough,
Move-
bro.
move
Do you
on
want to talk
some
about
questions.
Grand Theft Auto now?
Yeah, well, we had some things unsettled.
Oh, yeah. That's right. The Witcher. Yeah, so...
Yeah. So going to Facebook, Brandon asked a question, and he's a friend of the show. I think.
Yeah, he's a listener,
Very
friend of the
active.
show. Yeah.
He's interested in hearing what we've been working on, what we've been spending our time on, and what we're most proud of in the last patch. Taking it back to Path of Exile. Blake, you've been doing some art. Anything
I
you're
did.
proud of?
I didn't do anything major. I just did like bits and pieces here and there, like to
It
fill in
was
the...
it was so level heavy, you know, just with labyrinths and stuff.
Yeah,
and
but
things.
like the majority of it, like 90% of the labyrinth was made from environment tiles that we already have.
Yeah.
And I just like added like a few, like that last 10% that just fit, like
Yeah, well,
combined things
necessary
together.
tiles that were.
Well,
were
yeah,
needed.
yeah, but like I can't really think of anything that I was particularly like.
You made
proud
some
of.
pretty cool switches, right? Didn't you make some of those switches and levers
yeah,
and stuff?
yeah.
You proud of them
Oh no,
switches, Blake?
about the labyrinth. You mean? I was thinking of Atlas.
Oh crap! Yeah, dude, I'm way back.
Yeah. Labyrinth is like 6 months ago,
Yeah,
man.
come on, man.
Sorry, I just remembered like Josiah's talk.
Oh, right, yeah,
thing, and I was like,
yeah.
yeah, that was the last one, right?
I mean, like that. The question is probably about Atlas, right? Not
Yeah.
about-
Sorry, ignore that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually can't think of too much that I did.
Me neither.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
on that.
Dude,
Nothing I'm
So
particularly
you
like.
guys,
proud of.
just slacked off, basically.
Yeah.
We've been working on stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't do a
you have.
GDC talk and talk about what we've been working on, but we've been working.
Yeah.
What about you
Did some
guys?
item drops? Did you?
I did actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this
which,
is
which
all-
I think is actually an animator's job. But
Well, you'd think that item drops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fitting the items to the characters, like manipulating the mesh.
Yep.
I feel like that's something a modeler should do.
well, Now, when we're talking about
Oh man.
man,
So hold on. Do you want to tell the listeners about this beef, because this is like an ongoing?
it's
issue in
really
that work?
bizarre. It's really weird because we have to rig armor to each of the characters when there's new armor, obviously.
Yeah.
Just to have it fit and move correctly. It involves a lot of weight painting, which is fun.
Yeah.
But it also involves a lot of just resizing because we'll get the armor made for one character. And then we fit it to every other character. And Ed refuses to do any vertex pushing or anything. He won't scale anything. He won't.
Guns, mate.
He won't. Yeah, and it's not just Ed. Sam's the exact same.
The whole
Like-
animation department is
like, we never had this
Why
before.
is the animation partner such dicks, bro? Don't you know we're generalists, man? Far out.
It's really bizarre.
We're just above this modeling shit, you know?
This is beneath us. Eh?
Yeah. I mean, you don't ask a prince to fucking shine your shoes. No, we I don't know. It's dealing with something that we're not comfortable with. Like,
Yep.
I don't know. I for me, I don't want to fuck it up. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want Marauder to go
So is that
around
a
with these
fear?
like giant ass hands because I fucking
Doesn't want to
messed
ruin
up
his
the
reputation
reshaping.
there.
I'm in
Yeah.
the camp of you get in there, you get used to it, you learn from this experience that
You learn from breaking the game.
But
you
doing
don't
it.
do it again. Yeah.
Well, you don't commit it right into the game, but you work on it.
But like, I'm fine with attaching the gloves and doing the weight painting,
Yep.
and doing the drop animations
Mhm.
and all that. All I asked for was just like pre-sized gloves.
Hmm. But that's like
Or
that's the
whatever
hard
the item
part.
is.
It's not a lot to ask for, is it, Ed?
No, it's
No,
not.
no, yeah.
I would just expect the modelers to do their fucking job. Really, is all it comes down to.
But waiting them.
I mean, I don't go, half do an attack animation, hand it off to the programmers, and go, you can do the rest.
It's not the
just,
same.
It's just
simple
follow
as,
through.
right?
It's fine.
Yeah, you just do the keyframes and then get them to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a busy man, aren't you? You got a lot of shit to do, mate.
Oh,
No
mate.
time for this bullshit.
You
Yeah.
should see my issue list.
You got
It's-
tentacles to do, man. You don't
Yeah,
have time for
yeah.
I get it.
So I actually can understand where Ed's coming from.
Yeah, not doing work.
Yeah. Because like when you model the armors, right?
Mm.
Why would it be so much more difficult just to then bring in the other characters and then change it to fit them and then send that to the animators?
I'm gonna this week coming up. I'll send you an issue.
I've got too many environments to do.
Oh yeah, jeez, yeah.
Yeah, I'm too busy.
Is it more one of those things that it's
But
like?
you don't make a Prince show.
Is it more one of those things that you guys kind of just viewed as like the bumboy job?
It's tedious, man. It's
Yeah,
like
for sure.
rotoscoping.
Yeah, it is kind of like
The bumboy job, so you just don't want to do it. No, you get the same thing in concept art, man. Where you get a few things that you're just kind of like, fuck. We
Like
just
some
need a
people are
2D
good at
bumboy to
rendering,
do
right?
this, yeah.
Some yeah, and
Totally.
enjoy rendering.
But I think that's the thing about our work is that like there's no structure, you know what I mean? Which is like it took a while to get used to, but I prefer it. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad that it's
Yeah.
kind of like the art director and then just everybody else
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
and there's freedom there.
But there's total freedom, but it does mean that you have to work as a generalist and you are going to get assigned whatever the hell you get assigned. Whereas like in any other company, you'd have like, the concept lead, like, like character concept artists, environment concept artists, and then the 2D artists that are the guys that are going to do like all the icons and shit like that. Whereas, at least at our work, you're going to do all of that. You know, you could have like a issue where you're designing like a boss character for the next expansion and then you could be doing icons for a week. So
Yeah, you get a variety of things.
yeah,
to
you
do.
get a variety of things, and I mean, it keeps it interesting, I guess. And it's like, at least for me, I know that like, I mean, I don't really like making icons that much. Like, yeah, unique art and stuff like that. But when it comes to like skill icons that are just 64 pixels by 64 pixels, it
Yeah,
can be
that's a
boring.
tough one.
But sometimes you don't want to really think about what you're doing, and it's good to do that kind of stuff then because it's just like a break. Like you can go into autopilot, and you know what I mean. Rely on years of experience, I guess, to just kind of follow through.
Yeah, for sure.
So did we answer? Oh, no, you just
No,
asked
Ed,
me.
Ed, did you?
Yeah.
Did
I do anything
for Atlas
for
of
Alice of
Worlds?
Worlds?
We know you didn't do any armor
Nothing.
rigging or.
Yeah,
you,
no.
you did.
I didn't really do anything of note. I don't think.
Huh? Nothing you're proud of?
Oh man, what a humble.
This guy.
Everything I do is fucking gold, so I can't really pick it out as special. I guess there was
So humble.
Yeah, humble as fuck. Yeah, no, I worked on the boss fight.
What do we call him? The Shaper?
The Shaper, yeah. Senior Tentacle Face. Yeah, he was interesting because like at a first glance of him, like he's not really like the most epic looking of bosses. Like, you know, before that there was Azaro and he had like the big back piece and a ghost chick floating behind him and all this shit, whereas this is just like a dude in a cloak with a face full of tentacles. But he was actually quite groundbreaking in that he was he's two monsters sitting on top of each other.
Yep. You're going to talk about the 40 limit? The
Yeah,
50
yeah.
limit?
So we've got a joint limit of 50 joints and 40 joints if the mesh has an alpha on it.
And a joint is
We've got a limit of how much weed we can smoke.
Yeah,
today.
that
Yeah,
explains so much.
That's how creativity happens, man. It's just
Yeah, man.
50 joints.
Because if you go over that limit, you know, you're just Mong and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
There's no Animator getting done after that, bro.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
food and shit. Yeah,
Too busy eating Doritos.
It's just Doritos and
that's
fucking...
you enter
yeah.
the Dorito zone, and you're never coming back from
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's a whole...
But dude, the solution to that is to get two monsters to work together at the same time.
Yeah. So this guy, as I said before, this guy had tentacles coming off his chin. He had 8 of them. 8? Yeah, 8. And so I was using 3 joints per tentacle so I could get, you know, decent flow happening from them. So yeah, his head is a separate monster. Just so we could accommodate for the tentacles. And he also had like rags coming off him and shit, which I had to get some floatiness to. And yeah, it was hard work.
You completely rigged the hood as well, right?
Yeah, because he had to take off his hood halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot this guy had to do. Like, it seemed to just keep piling up.
Yeah.
Like, at first it was like, oh yeah, there's this boss fight, and he's got all these joints. I was like, oh shit, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Dude, how
Did
is
that.
it?
And then they're like, oh, he's got to turn up and say this shit. Oh, he's got to walk through this frozen, like, thing for the trailer. And oh yeah, because he was rigged to float, so like his feet were pointing down in the model.
I remember
And
that.
shit. And then like after curry day,
Yeah.
like I was full of curry and all food comaring and shit. And Eric comes up to me and he's like, "I've got this urgent issue for you." I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah, that's the last thing you want to hear on a Friday.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just like, come on, bro. I was planning on bailing out of here earlier.
Hard out. And then he's like, "We want the Shaper to walk through like war scenes
I
and
remember you
shit."
telling me this, bro. I remember you coming up to me being like, fuck, man. I was so looking forward to chilling out, and now I've got like this intense thing that I've got to do for this trailer that needs to be out in 3 hours. Like,
yeah.
Holy crap, you only had 3 hours to do it.
No,
it wasn't until like the next day or something.
I was due on Tuesday.
Okay.
But it was like,
and this was on a Friday.
Yeah. So I came in on like Saturday and Sunday to
Right.
re-rig this fucker so he could walk on his
You
feet.
you had to go right back to the rig.
Yeah, there's a separate rig for that trailer.
Yep.
Just so he can walk around. Because the Shaper in the game only has 1 bone in each foot.
Jeez.
Because the rest is on his like robes and shit. But he's got, what is it? He's got something like 50 animations on him because there's a variation of him doing stuff with and without the hood. And then everything I did on the body, I had to copy over onto the head file. So all up, there's about 100 animation files
God.
on that guy.
And for like, as a comparison, like
Your
another
average-
boss that you wore, the average boss, like how many animations would?
The average boss would maybe be about 12 or something.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Are you serious? I never knew that.
Yeah.
So it's 12 to 50.
Yeah.
Fucking usually having a fucking nightmare at work, bro.
it's
Just thinking,
huge.
what the hell's
Yeah.
going on?
I've been stressing the fuck out.
But
the
I'm
past,
so glad
like,
I'm a
2
2D
weeks.
artist, bro. It's so much easier. It's just like one file, that's it, done, dusted.
Like in that last week, I was seriously freaking out that I might not make it, like finish everything in time, and I was doing like ridiculous hours. But I got there, and it looks good. I thought.
Yeah, I thought it looked good as well, especially through the trailers. People went nuts about those trailers, eh?
Yeah.
Like, man, when that shit came out for Atlas of Worlds, like, people were just saying, like, on YouTube, like, this is the best trailer that GGG's ever brought out.
They were, dude,
And
they were
I've
great.
got to agree, eh? Like, I
yeah.
really like those fucking trailers, man. I think that the whole tone that they set and just everything through that was just awesome, eh? Yeah, man, I really like what
it
they
did turn out pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it was quite because it was looking kind of average, like the cut they had done before they decided to change things up.
Oh, before him walking.
Before him walking, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was just didn't have much of a punch to it. But then
why was he just floating? Was that
Yeah, I just kind of done some static looping poses
right
of him standing there.
Oh, okay.
But then like him walking through those time frozen zones were fucking cool.
Like my favorite scene is like there's a shot where the camera is like between two library shelves and he just like walks like
that's a great shot
through the gap and it's just that is amazing. That's some cinematic stuff that's happening
they
there.
really nailed the tone with it, eh?
Yeah.
Like just of the feel of that character was just awesome, man.
And
like,
everything's frozen around him,
just,
so he's like existing in this like weird frozen time.
in this kind of like alternative world that's still there. Yeah,
that's still there.
I really
but,
liked
like,
it
you
as
can't.
well.
Yeah, it's great.
I had a lot of fun animating that guy, and I learned a shitload about rigging. But I'm also glad to see the end of him.
It's one of those ones, like learning curve, but you're kind of like, all right, give me a break now, eh?
Yeah, because I spent I think it was about a month and a half on him. Shit, just that dude. Like I had to flick all of my issues to Sam. Just
I don't think I've ever spent a month and a half on anything. Like especially not at work. It takes me like a few hours and I'm done. Like what I mean? It's crazy. Get driven.
You're one of those. Your concept artists always have this thing that I really am impressed with, where they'll post up a picture and be like, "Yeah, this is a speed thing of like 30 minutes or whatever."
Yeah,
and it'll be the most fantastic like drawing or like landscape or whatever. I'm like, this is a 30-minute like speed thing that they just throw away. Like,
but dude, it's
hell?
like getting to that point is ridiculous though. Like I remember seeing that shit when I was a student and being like, fuck off. Like, are you serious, bro? This is gonna take me like 3 months to paint this. But it's once you understand the fundamentals, you can get away with so much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like understanding the like kind of limitations of what you got and then exploiting it. You know what I mean? And speed painting is a thing that comes from spending like 30 hours on a painting. Do you know what I mean? It's like that learning curve, and then suddenly, I can do this way quicker because I've learned from all this shitty heartache of trying to paint a tree.
It's how you get fast at anything.
Yeah, totally. You
hammer down like what you need to do.
Like it was weird because I was talking to Cam about this the other day actually, and we were looking at some of our old work that we'd done for GGG when we first started, and I was like, how did I even get a job?
Oh right,
like it was so bad, man. I was like looking back on some of the boots and like armors that I'd made, and I just thought, holy fuck, these look like I want to go back and paint them again just to be like, sorry.
But that's
like,
good, man. That means that like you have grown and gotten way better.
I think working at a company like GGG that's going to happen to you, especially as like a concept artist, because our style is realistic. You know what I mean? It's not like working at Gameloft where you'd be drawing My Little Pony every day or whatever. Yeah. Like you have to paint photorealistic because it has to go in game looking like this. And when you're faced with that every day, like as a amateur artist, like it's your worst nightmare because painting realistic is so fucking hard.
Right.
But once you get in the mindset of doing it, you're just going to improve constantly. And it's just, And
I think also like being surrounded by other insanely talented
like
people.
Jason.
Like Jason. It pushes you as well.
It does, man. And I think that's a really awesome thing about the art side of GGG that I really, really fucking love, actually, is the fact that I'm surrounded by other concept artists that are just amazing. And you've got this competitive nature where you constantly want to beat the other person, but there's no ego. It's totally that thing where I know that I could turn around to any one of them, like Cam, Jace, Sean, whoever, and I could be like, bro, can you critique me on this thing? And they'll throw an idea at you that's like you haven't even thought of, and it's totally constructive, and it's going to help you. And it's just kind of that mentality of like competition, but you're totally there to help the other person. Just counts for heaps. Whereas like definitely I've known in other companies where they're trying to get ahead to become, and I think that might come down to that whole thing of we don't have a structure, so everyone's on the same platform. Whereas if they were above you or whatever, it wouldn't be like that because they would think that you're gunning for their job or some shit.
Like if there was a head of concept art, like people might at some point want to try and
go
that
for that
job.
position, so they're not going to try and help you get better, which is the opposite of what you should do. Because if you're competing with them and you're both getting better, you're going to work harder than trying to bring someone else down, which is weird. But I think that mentality at GGG is like one of the main things that keeps that company fucking on top of their game, eh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I love, because I after Pete left, I was the only animator for fucking ages.
Yeah.
And I had no one to like show my work to if I was uncertain about something. But now I've got like Sam and
the veteran Sam.
Yeah, we got
who has like insane experience.
Yeah. Who asks me if things look good.
Yep.
Because I'm amazing. And we got Danan as well, who's also worked on amazing stuff. Like he's done stuff for Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Fucking amazing.
And were you asking him about it? Like, that's incredible. Like,
yeah, no, I think I did. I don't know.
I find it hard
I find it
believe
hard
that
not-
you didn't talk to him about Dark Souls 3 at
I
all.
really like talking about myself.
You also really like talking about
yeah, lonely at the top, bring a prince and shit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Like, yeah, come on, bro. You
It's-
guys already know how good I am. Let's not fucking go into it any further, eh?
Yeah, no, I asked him about it, but he
he doesn't
I
look
know.
back. He's a
he's
rebel.
he mainly just wanted to say that he prefers working on film.
Oh,
He-
Yeah, I
he's
think a lot of
he's
animators
he's a
like
film
this.
guy. Well,
Is that because there's no limit?
there's a big difference between film and game. Yeah, there's less limitations. Well, there's different limitations.
I mean, you don't have to worry about a 50 limit joint
Yeah,
count.
yeah, and you get like these big ass fucking rigs that can do a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a film, you have to do this, and this. Whereas at GGG, it's like, here's a monster, make it move.
Yep. And
Yeah.
you've got 25 frames.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
30
it's got a
frames.
loop.
yeah, yeah. So it's different restrictions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can go over to them, or like if I'm feeling unsure about an animation, I can just be like, "Is this actually good?" Because I have no idea. I've been staring at it for
Yeah.
like 3 days, and
Oh, dude, yeah, for sure. I think all of us can attest to that.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you need
Yeah.
fresh eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, when
You
you've
do,
been
man.
looking at something for so long.
I mean, and it gets frustrating to a point as well, where like, say, like I would have like, I mean, I think that's another massive thing that I learned at least at GGG is that like, I'll do like a concept where it's the opposite, where I think that this thing looks really good, and
Yeah.
I'll send it off to Eric, our art director, and be like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "Nah." Like, come back and try and do this to it. And I'm thinking, fuck, what? Like, what's he on about? Like, why would I do that?
Yep.
And then from that feedback, I'll come back and make something that is so much better
Yeah.
that I would have never thought to do if I hadn't had someone be like, nah, do it again.
Yep.
And man, that mentality has just like at first it was really hard to get used to, but now I just trust in it because I know that it's so time proven that it works. Do you know what I mean?
sometimes it's great having your shit cut down. Eh?
Yeah, totally, man, totally. Like, and that's the thing about the ego, eh? Like, it's like I think it's good to have drive and shit, but you can't. At least as an artist, you can't fucking let yourself think that you're the only one that knows what's going on. Because as soon as you do that, you're not going to improve. Do you know what I mean? You need to know that other people can be like, nah, this looks like shit, change it. And then you do it and you're like, fuck, if I didn't change this, I wouldn't have made something that was this much better than before. You know what I mean?
But it's also a thing of like, when Eric says that to you, he's not criticizing your skill.
Nah, totally.
He's just saying what you've done is not exactly what I had in mind.
Yeah, it doesn't
You
fit
know, it's
with
not like
what's going on in the game.
you're
yeah.
a terrible artist.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
He's just like saying, make it slightly different or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's so many artists out there that are afraid of that critique.
Yeah.
Of, like they don't want to put their work out there because they don't want someone to come back and go, nah, I don't like that part of it.
Dude,
That's totally
because,
that thing, eh?
It's because they're so invested. Like,
Yeah.
I have it with my work. And sometimes, dude, a lot of people haven't seen a lot of my work. And it's because
Right.
I don't want to be mowed down. But
Oh, you were so reluctant to
Yeah.
show your Turret Town
yeah,
game.
still am.
Yeah.
But I think it is that thing of not falling in love with your work, eh?
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
weird thing because it's like, especially as an amateur, you do kind of fall in love with something that you've been working on for like 8 hours. And I think that's something that, as a concept artist for like professional company or whatever, that gets taken away from you because you can work on something for 8 hours and then be told it's shit, start again, and you're gonna like, oh, my time invested in this. But as soon as you accept that that's like a thing that happens, it almost works in reverse that suddenly your work becomes better because of it, because you don't get attached to it. So
Yeah.
you're not afraid to make changes that at first you would have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like whatever.
Yeah, it's and I think because like you, once you're like working at a company like this, or you've been working for so many years, you have like, you don't just have one amazing piece like you might have when you're a student, you know. So being criticized on one thing that you've done doesn't really matter because you're going to be working on 1,000 other things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, in the
Exactly.
next few months or whatever. You're not just a student who's been working on this one thing for 6 months, and like any critique of it will just like destroy
You,
you.
yeah. You've got a whole library of shit that
Yeah,
you've
you've got a
done
whole
that can
library
be
of stuff.
judged
You'd be like,
of-
well,
yeah.
this is just one thing of a million things I've done.
And I think that's the thing is that like you're always still going to create shit designs at some point. Like there's still work that I do where I'm like, what the fuck is this? But then there's other work where you're just like, oh my god, like this is awesome. This is like a portfolio piece or whatever that you can pick and choose the best work from. And I think it is just a quantity game. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the more that you've got, the more options you got to pick from, the more that you can kind of
Yeah.
do that. Whereas like if you do get stuck on like that one thing, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because if it doesn't go well,
Yeah.
that's all you've got left. You know what I mean?
I remember when I was first studying 3D animation, there was a guy in our class who throughout the entire year worked on one model.
Yeah.
And like he was just constantly like improving it and changing it and like updating it and stuff. But it was a thing of like, man, if anybody critiqued him, you could tell that he was like really devastated,
Super sour about it.
Where the
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
of us who had worked on like a few dozen like different models critique one model, and it's not really that big a deal. It's
Yeah,
just like,
exactly.
it's just part of the learning process.
That's
But
what it
for
is,
that guy,
yeah.
he'd put in his heart and soul into this one thing. Yeah,
How did that one thing look?
dude, it was like an anime character.
Oh,
Dude, oh my god.
He was
man.
actually there was this. This is a weird story, but he it was like this anime like Sailor Moon type character, and we came in to class one day, and he had finally textured her, but she had no clothes on. And he'd gone into very deep detail
Oh no!
into like
Into
into the
areas.
bathing suit area.
Oh,
He'd gone real
fucking
deep in detail.
legend.
And not only that, he had her posed bent over. Like,
God.
I
You
don't know
this
what
was
he
all
was
just like a
looking
big
at.
walk up to a porno way. That's all it was. It's like this hentai's business is what I'm getting into. boys.
Yeah.
He was making one of those cuddle pillows that he could. He's gonna get that thing printed.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate it when people change anime to 3D. It's just looks awful.
Oh,
Like,
dude, when you nail it, it's incredible. But
Totally, but it's hard to
but
nail,
that
and
margin for error is
Yeah.
massive.
dude,
like,
I think a lot of people look at it and they think it's easy,
yeah,
and
it's not,
holy
bro.
shit.
That's a massive thing, especially like as an artist, is that like there's two ways of looking at it. You know what I mean? And like something that looks really awesome on paper or like as like a concept,
Yeah.
it works because it works as like an illustration. But when that gets translated into 3D, sometimes that just looks like shit.
Oh, dude,
you know
like
what I mean?
any cartoon like Family Guy in 3D or Simpsons in
or
Family.
whatever. And
Yeah,
that's a
it's
massive
just-
thing, is that like a lot of people don't get that. And I remember when I was studying, people were like, "No, I only draw anime. That's my style." And I was just thinking, "You are fucked, bro.
Yeah.
Like, there is no way this is gonna work." And like, no anime looks good like in 3D unless it like like Troy, a guy that used to work at Grunt and Gear, who works for Weta now, and he used to work at Right as well. He will nail that shit. Like him and his girlfriend translate anime characters into 3D all the time, and it looks brilliant. But there's so many times where it just, because anime is already so simplified and the shapes aren't exaggerated, it's all super samey or whatever.
It's wicked subtle, man.
Yeah, wicked subtle. It just doesn't work as a 3D model, and you just kind of think, "Oh, this looks terrible." So that's why you play like Dragon Ball Z games, and the whole reason you're playing it is because of
it looks
like
weird.
because you watched it as a kid, but the 3D models just don't look good at all.
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
And it's taken like even just the movie industry, right? It's taken years and years to really get to a point where like anime type characters kind of look all right.
Dude, and the only people that are nailing it are the guys that are doing like the Final Fantasy movies and shit. Do you know what I mean? Like Advent Children was amazing because of it, and they nailed the style and shit like that. But I think also the thing that they had to deal with is like it's worked in reverse in the sense that they started off with shitty character models.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they can only improve on it, and so they don't have to stick to a defined style that's already been out there. Whereas like if you've got like an anime that's already out, and then you're kind of like reverting back because of it, it's not. Doesn't translate as well.
I think the Attack on Titan latest game like looks pretty good as a translation of anime to 3D. But even then, there's still something kind of wrong with it. But you can't really like put your finger on it.
Yeah, and
you
I think
know?
that's the thing, man. I think it's just that thing where you'd be better off just being like, okay, let's take the essence of what this is and make it as good as we can for this platform, as opposed to being like, no, we can't change that. It comes back to that whole thing of like, no, if we, you're too attached to the idea, and if you don't fucking change it, it's not going to work as well. You know what I mean? And that's what the problem is that like you see like Dragon Ball Z games and the characters have got outlines and stuff like that, and it just kind of like, come on, man, it doesn't work as a 3D thing.
You just put cell shading on everything, bro.
It's like, just change it. Like, no one's going to care that much. All they want to do is shoot fucking laser beams at each other. Like, what does it matter? Let's have this super realistic and do it. You know what I mean? But I mean, whatever. It's.
I think you know what really nailed it.
What?
South Park.
Yeah. In all fairness,
That South Park game is fantastic.
Stick of
it's
Destiny
perfect.
or whatever it was called was
it looks like
fucking awesome.
the TV show. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And they did that thing where it was good because they didn't try and translate it to 3D like they did with other games that they had.
And I remember on I can't remember where they were saying it, maybe at E3 or something, when the Stick of Truth was first announced, that they actually spent a long time trying to get that look right, trying to make it look like the TV show. and they were saying that it was surprisingly hard to do.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they work with Maya as well. Couldn't they just
Yeah.
get like an exporter
Oh,
going on?
you just go export
Yeah.
into a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't get
Game
why
EXE.
people, yeah, I don't get why
Save
people
as.
think
Yeah.
they have to translate it into 3D though. Like one of the weird, like speaking of that, like one of the weird things is that like I remember some of the old Dragon Ball Z games that were like on Sega and shit that were like 2D kind of characters.
Yeah.
They
look
look
way
great.
better, and it would be way better if they just bring that out as like a Street Fighter type thing
Right.
for PS4 or whatever, where you've got the characters and they're all like hand drawn and the animations are hand drawn, as opposed to trying to change it into 3D for some weird reason. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be like that.
I think
but-
actually you mentioned like Street Fighter. I think they did it really well as well. Like,
Yeah.
Eventually, like it took
Yeah.
them a long. Like I remember Street Fighter on PlayStation 1, and it was like pure garbage.
Yeah, yeah,
when they
totally,
first tried
yeah.
to go into 3D, and then they got
Oh,
into the
jeez, yeah.
like how it looks now, and it actually looked really, really good.
I think a big part of doing anime to 3D as well, for me anyway, is the animation. So like anime is usually they're trying like to animate as little as possible.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot
basically.
of still frames
Yeah,
with like
still
lines
frames
in the
with a moving
background.
mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
like
yeah.
they animate a lot on twos, which for anyone who doesn't know what that is
They'll hold a frame.
yeah, they'll hold a frame. They'll
Right.
they'll use a drawing for 2 frames and move on. Ones is when they do every frame.
Yep.
And then you put it on 3D, and they're all of a sudden moving all silky smooth and shit. And
All right.
it
Yeah.
just
I'm
looks a
going
bit
to cut
weird.
in. I'm going to cut in. We're a little over time, but I want to continue this conversation.
Oh, we should just go for like
Yeah?
just
Just keep going. Dude, we're
Fuck
on
the
a roll.
rules.
And, dude, have you seen Guilty Gear Xrd?
yeah,
No.
bro.
Dude, that would have to be the most best example of 2D gone 3D.
Yeah, sure.
But it's only because they take so much from 2D.
Yeah.
Like each of those models, they only work from like a fixed camera.
Yeah, totally. Otherwise, it wouldn't look good at all.
Yeah,
It's the same thing with the concepts
But-
getting translated into 3D or whatever.
But, but also they can break that when they go into specials or whatever because they can actually pan the camera and exploit the 3D-ness of it. You know, holy crap! When I first saw that game, when Troy told me about it first time, and I couldn't believe it what they were doing. And it was a thing like the only reason that you knew it was the only way you knew it was 3D was that there was like this edge on like a boot in this one still frame. It was so true to 2D. And that cel shadedness and everything.
Yeah, it looks good if you can nail it, eh? But it's
Yeah.
just getting to that point of just like super hard work to make it work. Then.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You should check it out because it looks
All right.
fantastic.
I will do. But there was that Studio Ghibli game.
Oh yeah.
What was it? Called
jeez.
The White Witch or something.
Yeah.
So that had like these Ghibli characters running around, but because their animation's fucking amazing, but it just didn't look as good in 3D. It was too smooth.
I'll tell you what. This is why I'm jealous of a lot of like 2D artists, like the amount of freedom you have at work.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
your limit is very much, you've got a 600 by 800. I want to see an armor.
Yeah.
And that's your canvas. But when it's like environments, holy shit, those restrictions. How it's like, okay, we want a straight wall, we want a convex, concave.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's become such like it's just part of my day to day now. That it's like okay, I do a wall, then I do convex, concave, and then different joins, and then it's just like
You need a doorway. You need a thin
you need
and
a door.
thick wall.
Yeah, thin and thick wall, and then you need the different joints of the thin and thick wall, like
Yep.
a T shape, a cross
Oh,
shape.
and a staircase and a ledge.
Yep,
Yeah.
staircase. Dude, what? And it's like whenever I have a good idea for something like something we've been working on recently that has a lot of walkways, it just sort of exponentially increases how much work I need to do because I'm
Oh,
like,
dude,
this
yeah.
will be a good idea. Yeah, I'll do that. And then, I need a tile for this, and then this, and then this,
Yeah,
and then
it's
this.
got to connect
And then-
to ledge,
Yeah, and
staircase.
then that one idea ends up being like a dozen tiles.
yeah, and like a week's work.
yeah, well, yeah.
Well, even more than that.
Well, yeah,
you know.
sometimes.
We never got into what you're most proud of in that last batch.
I didn't do that much for the last patch. It was mainly unique items. I got to say though, I drew some of the best swords that I'd ever done for this patch that I'm fucking super proud of. That I was just sitting there like, holy shit, these look awesome. I love my job type thing. It was weird because both of them were purple swords.
Right.
There was one that was like made out of like obsidian, but like this purple obsidian that had like this kind of reflective, like broken seashell type thing going on that I posted
okay.
that was awesome. And there was another one called it's not Soul Blade, it was something Void Edge. I can't remember what it was, but it's basically this sword that had like like a kind of galaxy inside of it as like the texture,
Damn.
and had a like a planet that was like a supernova type thing that was circled into it as like a special effect. So just above the handle there was like this kind of dark void black hole that would and that was like awesome to design, and that was just awesome because it was a supporter item that someone had suggested.
Oh, cool.
And like some of the best uniques come out of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like whenever it's a supporter item, like sometimes they don't care and they're just like, just draw me whatever the fuck you want to draw. Like I don't care. And I'm like, sweet. But I think some of the best designs come out from having massive limitations. And when you've got that where it's like, we want something that's like abyssal and like spacey, but it has to fit into a dark gritty fantasy genre, is like where you're kind of like, okay, I've got a problem solve here. How do I do it? And then suddenly you design something that's like some of your best work, and you're like, what the fuck? This is awesome. So there was a lot of unique items that came out of that patch that were just dope. Eric gave me the task of designing all the new base items, so that was cool. So a whole bunch of new base items got put in the game that were all my designs that were like awesome as to work on. I didn't really do any of like the monster or boss designs for it, but yeah, a lot of item work, which was sick.
So that awesome sword you were saying, like, and we were saying translating 2D into 3D.
Yeah.
How did it look in 3D?
I haven't actually seen the 3D version yet. Like, I think that like, swords are a really easy thing to translate into 3D. It's mainly like armor.
Flat anyway.
Armors are a lot harder because there's so much more like geometry around like the chest and back area that you have to worry about.
Right.
Especially since you design an armor front on, but our game's like a 3/4 down view. It makes it really fucking hard. The problem there being is that you can have something that looks really good from a front on like normal view that you'd look at as a person, but you never really see things from top 3/4 down.
That's like that's got to be everyone's job.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
like animating. We're always for so long all the time I still do it. I animate as if I was standing in front of the person looking at them. But
and then suddenly from that other angle it doesn't look right.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh shit, that's right, I'm looking down on this person.
And yeah, I think that's like the main thing that's like an issue. Like with swords and shit, it doesn't really matter. It's only really armors like that are really tough because the silhouettes can suddenly just not work the same. And the silhouette is like the most important thing about it. It's going to give it its entire like feel, and then everything after that is just secondary. So that's pretty tough. But swords are super easy because they're such just flat planes anyway.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So the silhouette of a sword is going to translate no matter what, and it's such an easy thing to look at.
Symmetrical.
Yeah, so symmetrical, yeah. So, yeah, swords translate really well. So I'm not really ever worried about that kind of stuff. They always translate really well. It's always the armors and helmets and stuff that are the toughest thing to do.
Also, as an animator, we're always trying to put the sword in a place where they're going to be seen.
Yeah, where they're going to be seen for what it is. Yeah, totally.
All right, we've got a question from Spy Derp Man.
Oh man,
and
that's
he
a good
says,
name.
"Why are you designing art when you could be working on server improvements?" All right, and he's all right. He asks, "How much do you immerse yourselves in the lore of the game before you begin to design concept art?"
It's tough, bro, because it really depends on what it is. Like we can get items that are made. Like one of the swords that I designed was a thing called Cospre's Malice. And that goes back to like one of the characters that's been like kind of in the lore for a while. So when it comes to that, it's like you look back on what's already been done and you base it around that, what's already there. So that's why it was designed like around chaos damage or whatever it was called. So that's why it was purple for the sword and stuff like that. Other things come down to maybe it's a new character, so you get to kind of set the theme for it and you understand it for later on.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what's been done before. I mean, we've always got that baseline that our art director tells us that this is like dark, gritty fantasy horror. So you kind of go with that theme of like it's bloody, it's gory, it's like horrific, like stuff that makes you feel weird as opposed to scared is like the best thing to kind of go for. Because if you kind of feel like, oh god, this doesn't feel right, but because it's so unnatural, that's like you're nailing it then, as opposed to just being like it's a big monster.
Something
I
that's
love that shit,
something that is disturbing.
Yeah,
instead of
disturbing
just,
that's exactly it. You want your like with PoE, disturbing is the general thing that you go for. Because I mean, big horrific monsters with bloody claws have been done before, and you don't really find it scary. But when you see like a half deformed baby type thing that's walking around trying to like murder you, but it's coming at you slowly, and you don't understand why, is kind of like that's the horrific shit. You know what I mean? Because it's more relatable. Do you know what I mean? Like in a weird way, you never walk around seeing fucking fire-breathing monsters.
That's
but,
true. Yeah.
When you see something that kind of makes you feel, what the fuck? That's when you know you're nailing it. But yeah, so it's really a case by case basis for that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I kind of work on like a concept artist's dream for like a job. You know what I mean? Like dark fantasy horror is kind of what everybody wants to draw.
Yeah.
Like people ask me, "Oh, wouldn't you want to work at like Rockstar for like Grand Theft Auto?" And I'm like, dude, being a concept artist at Rockstar would suck. And they're like, "What?" It's like, what? Just because you're just drawing everyday shit. Like you're just going to be drawing a dude in a suit. Like I'd way rather draw something horrific or like fantasy than
you come up with some cool graffiti.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like you're just imitating life. Whereas like when you've got the freedom to work on something that's imaginative, that's where all the fun comes in, and that's why I like RPGs so much. Is that it's the imagination part that comes into it. So yeah,
that's definitely what we have in spades for sure. Do you have some of this, Blake? Like putting new tile sets together. Eric probably would throw a draft image or something to inspire you to set a theme. But a lot of it relies on your own.
Yeah, he Eric will send me like maybe even just one picture.
Yep.
Of I don't know, let's say like a mine, like the mines. Like let's take that.
Yep.
He sent me a really bad concept drawing.
Dude, I actually started on the mines at one
Right.
point as well, and then it was like, no, actually Blake's gonna do this. But his
You saw his concept art for it, which was just like these completely flat walls, like 90-degree walls with some rock textures on that he'd pick the rock textures and stuff.
Yeah.
Because Eric at like his core is a texture artist, and so he like picked these textures and stuff and did this basic as like it looked more like a hallway than a mine thing.
yeah.
I took that, and the only thing awesome about it was that it had these fused bodies to the pillars and walls, and that was kind of like the jumping off point, I guess, into like, okay, make a mine shaft that has this weird stuff is fused into the walls and that sort of thing. But yeah, I just kind of like took it from there, and Eric was seeing my stuff along the way, so he told me to change certain things here and there. But yeah,
it's definitely iterative in that way. Like you put your base tiles together for a new tile set, and then as more things get fleshed out along the line, you then add those miners embedded into the thing.
Yeah.
I know some of the lore has evolved over time. So has your art inspired some of the lore when they first gave you the vague description of that art?
Yeah, I think so. At certain points, especially with like monsters and stuff, I think Cam was probably a bigger example than me when it comes to like mines again, like designing the miners around that kind of stuff and what's happened to them and how they look. As a concept artist, like your main thing is trying to like I don't think there's ever such thing as an original idea. I think everything's derivative of like something else.
I'm very much in that camp as well.
Yeah. I just think the people that say, "Oh, I've come up with something original," it's just putting you on the spot to fucking fail. I think that there's nothing wrong with stereotypes and stuff like that. And I think that things get made original the more you work on them based off like a starting point. So it's more you kind of pick what feeling you want to go with and then keep working on it until it becomes something that's your own. Because people you get it quite a bit, like especially with concept art that's just ridiculous. Where like I designed MTX that went into the store that was that steam powered sword type thing,
Right.
And obviously like it was just like I looked up other steam powered like weapons and shit because it's like that's your thing.
Yeah.
And people are going on about, oh, this just looks like this, and I'm like, dude, every sword looks like every other sword ever anyway. Like that's what it is. Like you can't. It's not a thing that's ever going to be massively different. It's like someone's like, you could say that to any concept artist in the world. Oh, the sword you design looks like another sword because it is a fucking sword. Whatever.
Yep. It's like the worst critique on the planet.
It is, and it's kind of like, oh, it looks like the gunblade from Final Fantasy. It's like, well, what did you want me to do, man? Like, I had to make a steam-powered weapon, like, that was a sword, like, and that's what it is.
And how do you steam power a sword?
Yeah, exactly. So like, I'd put, like, this little engine on the blade that made the blade, like, heat up and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, it looks like this, and you're kind of just like, dude, you need to take it for what it is, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to design a sword that looks like something that's so it's got to relate to what is already out there because that's what is.
People have to know it's a sword.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just design some weird shit that's like a sword that's made out of candy floss or some shit because people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is it?" And you're like, "That's a candy floss sword, man. Don't you know?" Like, so I mean, some things get inspired buy it, and it just depends on what you're working on at the time. Like unique items, not so much, but when you're doing say like the best example is probably like boss characters. That's awesome because the boss characters are kind of like a starting point in the game that sets the tone for, because they normally are powerful, like iconic, lore characters anyway. So when we were doing Act 4, I got tasked with the boss design for King Comb.
Yep.
And that was a big one because
I remember this.
Yeah, that was like Eric coming up to me and he's just like, this has got to be like Maori / Islander themed design. It eventually got taken over by Jace because he's like 10 times better or whatever. But that set the tone for how almost every other like minion was designed, how the area was designed, and everything. Do you know what I mean? And those running themes of like having like the koru patterns going through like the armors and stuff like that just themes it up. So boss characters definitely are a starting point for that kind of stuff. And I think another good example is the Atlas bosses that have been done recently were all designed around a core theme that kind of mixed together, but it sets the tone for the entire area.
And they were like from that talk that they gave at GDC, which was all new information to me because I don't work in like boss design. But all those 4 bosses had really tight restrictions on what they could actually be, and that produced a lot of interesting design.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the main thing. Like, people think that having creative freedom is like the best thing in the world, and it's not. It's totally having restrictions, because that puts you into a place where you kind of have to, think to win, and then based on those restrictions, you actually find super interesting shit. So instead of having like a whole bunch of shallow potholes, you dig down into one and you start finding kind of veins of gold and shit, and you're like, holy crap, I would have never have done this if these restrictions weren't in place. Do you know what I mean?
I did this great exercise when I was at NatCol. It was for story writing, but the teacher gave us 5 minutes, and the first thing she was like, write as much as you can on anything you want.
Yeah.
And she's like, go. And it's like, fuck. Just start writing some bullshit. And then she's like, okay, now I want you to write a story about someone hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Same amount of time. And then she gave us yet more restrictions. And the more restrictions she gave, the bigger the story became.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're
That's
just
totally
like,
how
oh,
it works.
sweet. So I just need to, it allows you to cut away all the bullshit.
Yeah. Too much creative freedom is like a bad thing.
Yeah,
but putting those restrictions on, you're going to get your best work. But it's one of those things that people don't realize because it seems so counterintuitive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dude, that's the thing with like the environment stuff, is that like Eric will say to me, make the mines again, for example, and give me one thing. But I go and spend half a day or a day or like continuously just searching the internet for images. And when something like resonates with me and I'm like, that's it, that's the look and feel that I want to go for, then that's like the jumping off point, and that itself gives me like has a knock-on effect to everything else that I'm like creating.
That's exactly
so I'm like, you can't just like create anything. You need like something to base it on.
Yeah, as like the base point to kind of judge everything. Yeah, totally.
This kind of answers TKH's question. No, TKHC's question. And he asked, acknowledging that GGG and PoE has come a long way in the last 5 years, how do you as artists balance core identity of Path of Exile through the art style within the expanding game? And this is kind of an Eric question too, but keeping that theme and complementing it with things like steampunk stuff, I think if like from face value, it's pretty much dark fantasy.
Yeah,
we know that,
for sure.
But also, Eric's probably got. I think, Eric, Chris, and Jonathan had a really good idea of what they wanted to do with this game.
Yeah,
from the
vision
get-go.
type thing. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. And everything sort of just like as time moved on, just ended up complementing each other. But also, this is just how I'd go about doing it. You come up with a kind of story of what you want to tell, and then people don't want to see the beach again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a thing of like, where do we go from here? Like, we don't want to create another beach. Let's go into the belly. Yeah, and then
that's That's when I found out that the Valley of the Beast was going to be a thing. I was like, where did this come from? This is an insane dungeon.
I always think like the ideas sort of lead up to that. almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it progresses, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just,
it
you
does
know,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Don't try and force the idea to happen. Let it just kind of guide the idea and let it see where you end up, because it's always going to end up better off. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like I always think, slight tangent, but you know how Sony Walkmans always had like black headphones?
Yeah.
I think with iPods, it was like a no-brainer just to be like, we have to differentiate. Let's make white earbuds. And it was just like, oh, this guy's got, an iPod. Yeah, and it's like advertising as well. Like
Yeah,
free
for sure.
advertising.
Yeah.
Super subtle, but super effective, eh?
Yeah,
Just
like
having
the
that
complete
contrast right there, yeah.
So muggers can see, oh, he's got the expensive iPhone. I'm going to
Yeah.
take him.
Yeah. And now, without cords, you could just fully take an earbud.
Yeah, take it, but I think Eric is like, getting back to that question, I think Eric is like actually got a really strong sense of what, the style of the game is, because often my feedback from him is often like, make it more realistic, because I have a tendency to, well, sometimes
You just make it cartoony as
yeah.
hell.
Well, for example, there was this the catapults in Act 3.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing them.
So I looked on the internet for catapult pictures, and real catapults are boring as hell to look at.
Oh, yeah, bro.
But
yeah.
you know what's awesome? Warhammer catapults.
Yeah, it's that
so
exaggeration.
So I took
eh?
a whole bunch of like Warhammer catapults as reference, and like basically made a Warhammer catapult. And then Eric actually said to me, "Oh, this looks too much like Warhammer. You need to make it more realistic."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like toned it down a little bit, but yeah, he's got a definite like grounding.
It's a good thing about Eric. Like, it's a good and it's a bad thing, I think. It's really weird because a lot of the time Eric doesn't give me a lot of art direction when he initially gives me something to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you've got to design this, and you send off the first iteration, and then after that point, he comes back and he's like, okay, I've got a more clear idea of where this should go. Try this, and that's where you kind of start to. It's not until the second or third attempt that you get exactly what it is that you're needing out of it.
And I think also the longer you work at GGG, you just get an idea of what the
totally. You
what
totally
would
start to
suit
kind of understand it a
the
bit better
thing,
and stuff. Yeah.
Ed, do you kind of have this going on, like with animation, or you nail it first time, every time kind of thing?
Yeah, no, pretty much. I get very
Eric's
little.
like, I'm just going to send you an issue. You know what to do with it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, you guys create nothing but gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just trusts us. Yeah, we do it perfect every time.
It is weird in all fairness, because sometimes Eric doesn't talk to me for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, he just leaves me to my own devices, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, am I about to get fired? Am I doing shit work? And he's just like,
I think
this is all good.
I think that's the thing. That's a sign that he like trusts your judgment on what would suit the game. Because when I first started, he was checking my work quite regularly.
Yeah, for sure.
And then over the years, like it's like now he'll check me like once every 2 months.
Yeah,
or something,
exactly.
You know,
that's
like,
exactly it. And that's,
yeah.
I think, how you know you're doing okay.
Yeah. Or
because-
he'll check my work at the very early stages, and then when it's done, and then
he already knows you're going to nail it.
That's
so
kind
all
of it,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
when I get given a monster, I just get given this needs rigging and animations, and it'll have like, it needs a spell cast, or it needs, if it's got a special ability, he'll add that in. But there's nothing like, I want it to move this way or anything like that. I just know I get a monster, I need to make it look creepy. Like, that's kind of...
Actually, one cool thing is, what was it? There was a, oh man, I can't even talk about it because it's a new monster.
Oh,
Damn. Well, yeah, I was about to.
That was anticlimactic.
Sorry about that. But so he doesn't go in and ever say,
No, and we
I want you to punch it up a little bit, This looks...
Yeah, no, I very rarely get get asked to tweak anything. I just fucking nail it.
Oh yeah, all right.
Like
usually,
usually,
but was that okay?
Usually the critique we get back is like, it doesn't work in game. Like, it's usually a mechanical problem. Like, they're leaning. A big one I used to get when I first started was my characters were leaning too far in. So they're doing an attack and their head goes into the player or the monster, whichever was attacking who. But yeah, thematically it's usually pretty obvious. We've got this like weird ass fucking monster. It's like you're
Yeah,
not gonna.
it needs to attack. It needs to feel like
he's
it's
not gonna be.
attacking.
He's not gonna be walking along with a double bounce. Like jolly as fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
You're gonna get like a natural understanding of how this thing's gonna move from the get go based on what it's
Yeah,
looked like.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
it's hard to get it wrong.
Like function follows form type
Yeah.
thing, eh?
yeah,
So,
a lot of what we do in the animation department is just reacting to what we've been given.
yeah, totally.
We don't have to think. We just don't have to think. No, it can be pretty obvious most of the time. That's what it needs.
So you say that Eric doesn't like check your work often, but when you first started,
Well,
how often was he checking your work?
I still flick, like when I finish a job,
yeah,
I'll flick
you
it to
send
Eric.
it to him. Yeah.
But it's quite funny because usually he'll write, like I've seen him do this with other people, so I just kind of assume that it happens with mine. I don't check. But he'll write, "This looks great," and then send that to the next person.
Yeah.
So the next
No
person
instructions
gets the
on
previous
what to do.
person's
Yeah.
I get that
compliment.
quite a
Yeah,
bit
I
as
get that a
well,
lot.
where my art has just gone somewhere and I'm expecting it back, and it's
Yeah.
just never heard from again. And I'm like, okay, then I guess that was alright. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'll get issues that people have worked on, like doodads, which are like objects in the game that
Yeah.
I will then put into the tiles. But I'll get an issue that had been around for like 2 months or whatever, and a few people had worked on it. And when it gets sent to me, it just says, "This is great." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I know you want me to put it in the game, so I'll put it in the game."
Yeah.
Even though I'm specifically not told to do that. It's like
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
no, the only time Eric will approach me is if he's concerned that I'm not going to finish something on time.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, and it's a thing of like, Ed, we're gonna have to ask you to stay in this weekend.
Yeah.
yeah.
He comes up with his mug and he's like,
Oh.
"Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead." And
Yeah.
That'll be
He-
great.
Yeah.
yeah.
He doesn't even say anything anymore. He just nods to you. And you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
And you know-
no way.
Yeah.
You know you're not getting a free weekend, bro. It's not gonna happen. Oh well.
Although, like, I mean, having said that, we often have weekends, like, we don't often crunch much.
Nah,
you know?
not really.
Wait, no, you don't. I don't.
I mean,
I think George.
no,
probably does.
I crunch, but not often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I crunch usually not. The last time I really crunched hard was, I think it was the press tour for Labyrinth, I think,
Okay.
where, like, it was the game itself was not going to be out for, like, another month,
Mhm.
but this press tour was happening where
Mhm.
they needed to see a whole bunch of, like, stuff that technically wasn't 100% yet, so
Yeah.
I had to, like, really get...
Polish off that
Yeah.
10% type thing for
Yeah.
him to see. Yeah, for sure.
Did
So
you-
you look like you've been waiting to ask a question for so long, bro.
A little bit.
You're like going about to it, then we'll just like kind of be like, what about this though?
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Do you have like a lot of crunch as well?
Nah, I think I used to. I think that the designers have got a lot better at managing their shit.
Mm.
And that was the main thing, is that like you'd get stuff that you obviously knew these guys have been thinking about doing for ages, and then you get it in one lump 2 weeks before, and you're kind of like, dude, if you've known about this for so long, send it to me so that I can start working on it this
Yeah.
long ago, because this is just a fucking nightmare for me now. Like with the latest expansion, it was fine. I think there's a few things for Labyrinth that were pretty intense, and there was definitely a lot of shit for Act 4 that was like, you've sent this to me literally 2 days before it needs to come out. Like, you've known about this. Stop fucking around with like deciding what you want to do and just pick a direction and let me get on with my job. But
Man.
Yeah, I think for some, like, for some people, they don't realize that the deadline for this, for whatever job they've got, is actually the deadline not just for them, but for
everybody.
everyone
Yeah,
else
exactly.
that then gets passed on to. So saying like, oh, I have till Friday to do this. Well, you have till Friday to give it to somebody else who then also has till Friday to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
who
exactly.
then passes that to someone else who also has till Friday. So
yeah, I think that it's definitely been a thing that's gotten better. Like I really didn't have to deal with anything like that for Atlas of Worlds. I mean, I had a lot of work for it, but it was really well spaced out, so I
Yeah.
wasn't really complaining. But there's definitely been instances where it has happened. I mean, stuff's going to pop up at certain
Yeah,
points anyway.
sure.
I mean, that's just the nature of the job. But I mean, yeah, I haven't really run into that issue much lately. So yeah,
Yeah, we're kind of fortunate like that, not having to do the whole bungee thing and bring sleeping bags into the office and crunch all together.
Well, we don't have. We self-impose our own deadlines. I mean, Chris will say this needs to be out by then. But there is some usually early on there is a little more flexibility on what the actual dateline is until he fully announces
Yeah.
it.
Also,
Yeah.
I just remembered we're pretty much all artists, and Ed's probably the only one seeing the other end of the stick, because I know designers and Mark II's in there for pretty late on events like this.
Yeah,
I think
I-
the designers definitely have to crunch quite a bit more than the artists do.
Yeah.
I mean, we are just sitting there talking about how easy life is.
yeah. Meanwhile, it's
Yeah.
like, bro, I was there the entire
Yeah.
weekend. What the fuck?
Yeah, I what was it? I think it was like 92. Oh, like I didn't. I say I crunched, but like I don't know. I really just did an extra 12 hours. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't.
So
it
even
wasn't,
then, it's
wasn't,
also
like,
what's cool
massive.
is that I think Chris has said this before, that if we end up having to crunch, it's their fault. Like they say, it's our fault for not planning stuff out ahead or giving you enough time. It's not like it's not like from these nightmare stories I've heard from like Gameloft or whatever that you're expected to do a certain amount of overtime.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that seems weird to me. That like, yeah, you're gonna do, your contract is to do 40 hours, but you're also expected to do another, I don't know, 10 or something.
because you do shit work in overtime.
Yeah.
Totally, man.
Like
yeah.
by the end of the day, I'm usually pretty brain dead.
Yeah.
Like animation is very taxing, and like if I have to go into overtime, like the quality of my work drops significantly, and it feels shit
yeah.
to like hand in this like half-assed work, and like that's usually when the generic shit comes out because you're too exhausted
Yeah,
to
you've
think
got
of
no
something
fucking
new.
thought patterns left there, and it's like, I'm just going to fall back into
Yeah.
whatever I know.
Just
so
like
who
what's the
cares?
stereotype?
Yeah,
Here it is.
yeah, just go with that.
I remember I had to do a little bit of overtime for, again, the Act 4 press thing.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to show a few dungeons, and the aqueducts were one of them, which was not really done yet. So I just like, I did, I kind of rushed it, but also knowing that I'll be going back to fix it up, and so I spent like between that press tour and release fixing it up,
Yeah.
But I really just rushed it to get it out. So because there were tiles that weren't done and they needed to be done for this press tour, and
That's something I quite like. That Eric's pretty good with is like if I am running low on time, he's like, just do a basic animation. We can put that in, and then you can polish it later. Like he's not dead set on having perfect animations on release.
That's also, I guess, that's the benefit of having a game that is more of a game as a service that's just constantly being updated and changed and stuff, that you can just go back and polish stuff.
Yep.
There's stuff I've talked about this on the podcast before, but there's stuff that like playing the game casually with my friends, I'll see something and be like, oh, I'm going to write that down, and then at work the next day go and fix it.
yeah.
All right, I think we've got time for one question.
Yeah,
we're going into the 2-hour
Sure.
territory. All right, this is from Nero Noah, and he says, I can recognize at least 4 influences in Path of Exile, aesthetically speaking. Diablo, real-world civilizations, Lovecraft, and steampunk. Are you going to experiment with different stuff in the future, or will you be working within these boundaries? And what I will say is that we're pulling from a lot.
Yeah.
Like outside of these 4 things, Lovecraft is just a no-brainer. I think everyone kind of touches on that. Real world, that's huge.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, who isn't pulling from the real world?
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Yeah, the guys were definitely inspired by Diablo.
Yeah, for sure.
Steampunk, not so much. I think there was, once that steampunk armor came in,
Yeah.
I think that opened the floodgates a little bit.
I know that Eric was kind of thinking about experimenting with steampunk when it came to like is it Dominus, the last boss?
Yeah, with those hands.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where it started. I think that the whole steampunk thing is more of a motif to the actual art style opposed to anything else. So you're going to see it here and there, but it's not going to be like crazy. I know that it's become a bigger thing recently in the game as a new avenue to explore. I just think it's that thing where it's like I was talking about before about the restrictions on what you want to do. So I think that the core element of at least the art style is the dark, gritty fantasy horror, and steampunk is an element as like a motif that you can throw in. That's just another thing that you can draw upon inspiration-wise, which is good. But I mean, I'm sure more things will get thrown in the future, but I think it's still going to have to be, but does it work within what these set parameters already are? Because you can't just have shit starting to look like sci-fi, and it's such an easy line to cross, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because when you think about it, like sci-fi and fantasy armors are basically the same thing. It's just like shoulder pads, chest plates, and shit like that, but it's the shapes that go into it that define what it looks like. I'm more than happy to do more steampunk stuff. I'm working on some steampunk stuff at the moment. That'll be pretty cool when it comes out.
Yep.
I quite like it because it's kind of adding that sci-fi element, but also it's got the potential to be super gritty and dark and horrific looking, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure that there'll be more things, but it's just there's so much depth to what's already there that we can keep adding on, and so much stuff that we can draw on that it's like we're not going to run out of ideas anytime soon.
For the labyrinth, I tried to get a little bit of not really steampunk but clockwork in there. With all the cogs and stuff, and so I guess it's similar to steampunk, but just sort of different vein.
It's that cog type thing, isn't it? The thing that like cogs make everything run, so it's like clockwork, but it's steampunk and clockworky type stuff are just hand in hand, aren't they? So yeah, definitely.
Dude, I can tell you that I've noticed Eric going into phases of things that he's wanted to draw, like things that have inspired Eric. Like there are two things that I can think of, and like outside of these things, there's just so much awesome content coming out, and we all know this just by going to ArtStation or something. There's just always really cool stuff coming out. You can see I think it's even in the mines. There's a human centipede inspired monster, and you know the one I'm talking about, right? That thing covered in hands, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, that thing was that's exactly like what you were saying about being disturbing rather than straight up frightening. Like that thing is so disturbing.
but human centipede was massive, and it's almost like a nod to that.
Yeah, totally.
That's how I view it anyway. And when Forsaken Masters was coming out, there was a Hannibal.
There was a totem for the witch that was from the Hannibal TV show.
That's where it was pulled from. So Eric was obviously into that. It's dark. It's
it's messed up. It's super messed up.
So it's a no-brainer. Just pull from that as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just adding to the library of visual things that are in game that you can suddenly draw from then as well, because then you can start mix and matching those types of things, putting them together, and that's like a super like basic concept art theory as well. That it comes from like you want to stick to the main theme of the game, so why don't you mix some of these organic designs? Say like a good example was like the King Comb stuff, like and that area in Act 4, which is all super organic looking. You know what I mean? Like these crazy carved patterns, but they work into the armor compared to something that's steampunk, which doesn't look organic at all. Yeah. And mixing those two designs together to come up with something that's new again.
Yeah, like an embossed metal or something. Something very
totally,
ornate.
Totally. And that's something that I like to do quite a lot, because the game's already got so much content that you know from the get-go it's going to look like it fits in game already, but it's still something that's completely new. So
you kind of strive to do something unique.
Yeah, exactly. And just keep digging until you kind of find it. But that doesn't mean starting something that's completely different. It means
it still has
what
to
you've
fit.
got. It still has to fit. So it's just another kind of like tree root that's going off in another direction, but it's all part of the same thing. So yeah.
Do you think we got time for another question?
Let's try to do a couple more real fast if
quick?
we can. If we can.
All right, Dante SX. Is there any concept art that you loved but the player base didn't really care for? George?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean,
everyone loves your shit. Eh?
Yeah, I'm the best guy that I know.
George is another.
Like everything I do is amazing. I mean, fuck.
I mean, I saw your Pogo Goat.
Pogo Goat was pretty good.
Pogo Goat is the greatest thing you've ever done, as far as I'm concerned.
Nah, concept art wise, not really. Like, I mean, I do kind of like go into the forums every so often to try and check out and see if any of my shit's being talked about on a bad level. Just because I like seeing it, because I think it's like funny. Because I mean, you just got to take it on the chin, and if people don't like it, they don't like it. But I've never had anything that I've put in game that was like super badly received. Everything's been kind of alright. Maybe the steampunk sword, like that kind of got, but it wasn't that it was negatively received. It was just like, oh, this looks like this. But never anything where people are like, what the fuck have you just done, bro? Like, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
like, nothing like that.
I think a lot of the community is pretty much wanting to get laughs and likes out of their comments. Not so much bringing people down or anything.
I don't know. Like whenever I see anything negative in the community, it's never really to do with the art. Like I mean, it might like have something to do with like clipping or like some random shit you just can't help. You know what I mean? It's more to do with like design and things being like overpowered or underpowered and shit like that. And Path of Exile is based around that. Do you know what I mean? Like the art sells, like, you know, that's how you make the money, but it's the design of the game that keeps the players interested. And I think that you're always going to run into issues with like shit like that when it comes to like nerfing things and stuff like that. But the problem is if you nerf everything, then everything's just the same anyway. So it's kind of like, you know, whatever. But yeah, I've never run into anything that's been super like Eric's like, what the fuck have you done? You idiot. Like, come on.
Yep.
What about you, Sav? Is there anything in the game
that I've made and people have been pretty
really
down about?
like? Yeah.
Maybe there's rocks in the beach.
Yeah, but that was many years ago.
Dude, I never look back, Blake.
Just when you were young and carefree, Sav.
Yeah, well, I'm still carefree, you know. Jeez, nothing comes to mind. I'm sure I'll go away and think of something, but right now, not so much.
Yeah.
How are those gargoyles, Ed?
Actually, from the last podcast I was on,
yeah, we were talking about some gargoyles.
no, because there was also that written interview I did, like it lined up at the same time.
Oh,
and that got put up on the website. And there was this one guy. I wanted to reply to him. Actually, I felt bad that I didn't, but he like sang massive praises about my the youngest gargoyle.
Yep.
Saying about how he really loved the animations on it.
Yep. Oh, cool.
All that stuff. Yeah. That was really cool. I feel bad for not.
Well, you're doing it now, buddy.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging it now.
Thanks for that, guy. I can't remember your name. But yeah, I don't really get flame for my. I mean, I don't go on the forums either and look for it, but it seems like the people who get the brunt of the disgruntled comments is the designers.
Oh, and server issues and things like that.
Yeah, well, because I'm on their side of the room, so I hear them talking about all the complaints.
Yeah, they seem to cop a lot of shit, man, which is kind of tough because it's kind of like as an artist, you kind of just get nothing really. Yeah. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but how's that art, fella? How's that art, guy?
I've like with those gargoyles, I thought their run cycles were atrocious. Like the gold one, the video that was put up was the first time I'd seen it in game, and I was like, holy shit, that's terrible, I have to change it. And I went and did, and so the one that was released was a lot better. But I looked in the comments and people were like, wow, the animations on these are great. And I was like, what?
It's probably just you being a professional though.
Hi,
like you know what I mean? You can look back at like your work and be like, oh my god, like this looks terrible. But to anyone else, they're like, how the fuck did you do that? It's like what Blake said about the speed painting thing, like way back earlier in the podcast about like anyone else that looks at it who's not looking at it from like a professional standpoint is going to be impressed no matter what. Whereas like if you're looking at it as a professional, you're only worried about what other people of your level of thinking when it comes to that kind of stuff thinks anyway. So yeah.
Blake, do you have anything? Do you have anything that you worked hard on and people bigged you down?
No, people just don't notice anything.
Oh yeah,
that's always my. I'm always playing the smallest violin about nobody ever noticing my work. Yeah, like I mean,
we appreciate you, Blake.
I've told the story of the waterfall and the aqueducts that me and our effects artist at the time, Russell, worked on for a while, and I had taken time to like put this together, and I thought it looked really cool, and I was quite proud of it. And then I watched a Twitch streamer on the first day of release, and he was running through the aqueducts and was like, oh, I'm going to watch this, see what he says when he gets to the waterfall. Just ran up to the waterfall and he goes, oh, it's dead end, and then ran off in the other direction. And I was like, God damn it.
Exactly.
That's
right in the field.
But I suppose that on the flip side of that is that nobody's noticed anything bad. So.
Yeah. Like, this is a dead end, but this dead end looks like shit.
Yeah. If it's stopped and gone, oh, this dead end is terrible.
God, look at how disgusting this place is. Oh, who worked on this? I'm leaving here and never coming back.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
I've just lost enthusiasm for this game.
Yeah.
There's a dead end for me. And
nice.
All right. Another question again from Dante SX. What is something about creating concept art that seems really easy, but it's actually really complicated, either technically or from a design standpoint?
Oh man, fuck, there's some hard shit. Like,
dude, I think. We'll just cut it from
go, yeah.
Like, some people I've talked about this on another podcast, but it's a thing where people describe things to you just with words, and and converting it from words
Rather than
to
through dance.
interpretive dance.
interpretive dance is what I want. No, but it's like you know how Cthulhu's basically a tentacle thing.
Yeah.
You know, but when you go into Lovecraft stuff, he's actually describing something else. It's meant to
Sure.
pivot on like imagination of and be different from person to person, but everyone's just it's a tentacle octopus thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's almost like if someone was standing in front of us and said, "I want this kind of monster. It's like a griffin. It's got a horse head. It's got." We'd all have our own
interpretation of what's going to be there. Yeah, for sure.
And it's just does that come across in with concept art? Do you get these weird briefs that could just be anything?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like it's like I said before, is Eric sends you pretty vague stuff sometimes and stuff like that. It's not. I don't know. It's more just constantly working and then reworking things until they work. I mean, a bad idea is never going to fly. You can't polish a turd type thing. It's hard to say. Some of the like stuff that I run into that's massive challenge wise is stuff that you kind of wouldn't expect to be hard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like designing armors is actually relatively easy because it's super fun to do, and coming up with shapes for that kind of shit's cool.
Yep.
The hardest stuff I run into in game is designing boots and gloves, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like straight up, it's the hardest fucking thing to do because it's so weird to look at. Because it's just there's so many dimensions to hands and feet that you just don't think about when you're drawing. And then you've got to make it look cool on top of that and then render it as well. So stuff like that is actually really hard. I hate getting issues where I'm like, okay, you've got to design like a million new boots because I'm just like, oh God, like I don't understand it properly. I don't do it enough. I don't know why it's so weird.
What about, have you thought of belt buckles on boots?
Yeah. I try to do that a lot actually. Yeah, I'm just like add some buckles to this bitch and it'll look fine. Eh?
Yeah, a couple belts. I'll get
steampunk.
some.
Yeah, just fucking
More steampunk.
Add some cogs to this shit.
Yeah,
looks sweet as that.
Just slap some cogs on the side and that's away.
But yeah. So it's mainly just stuff like that. It's the stuff that you wouldn't expect to be tough that's kind of like the hardest. But apart from that, it's more just like you might design something that doesn't really fit well with game, but Eric's pretty good at reining you in and being like, look, bro, this is like an overall good design, but push it towards this direction a bit more by taking either this away or adding this in.
Yep.
So that's all I can really say. Yeah.
Yeah. What about those little stars on the back of
Spurs?
Cowboy boots?
Yeah, Spurs.
yeah. Have you thought of adding something there?
Nah, man.
Skis maybe tennis.
Snow boots.
Yeah, for sure, eh? Nah, your boots are fucking tough. So are gloves, man. It's just I don't know. There's not a lot of reference material for it either. They're just such a weird shape. I don't know. I don't really get it, but fuck it, you know.
They're also one of the furthest things from the camera.
Yeah,
Boots,
exactly. That's
right?
exactly it.
You don't see much detail.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the problem is that when the issue that you run into with like boots especially is the fact that you're designing them on an angle that's not seen in game. So they've got to look good as like an item that you're going to drag and drop into your inventory. But in game, they're going to be on a completely different angle to that. So it's that problem that you run into that we were talking about before about silhouette, where it deliberately is countering each other because you have to design it like this because you can't put it in at game angle, but then at game angle it might not work. But yeah, I don't know. That's like it's just stuff like that's like the only thing that pops to mind when it comes to being the hardest thing to do because everything else is like an overall design, especially with new bosses and stuff. So yeah.
All right, Ed, how would you pronounce that name right there?
Wadios?
All right, Wadios. He asked several questions, and I think we should probably end on this.
All right.
Any particular concept artists in the industry you follow or aspire to?
Yeah, there's a few, man. Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing for me is that starting out as an artist, you're inspired by other artists from the get-go, and that's why like you see a lot of amateurs kind of knocking off other people's work because they're like, holy shit, I look up to this guy. I think it changes constantly. There's definitely a few. Dan Lovesy was a big one. He's a guy that made this book called...
He's got the Sesame Street stuff, right?
He did the Sesame Street, yeah, he did the whole pop culture thing where he was doing all that, but he made a book called Last Man Standing, which was just fucking amazing because I've got the book, and it was just one of those things where I have never been so inspired by character designs before, just because of how fucking well thought out they were.
Yep.
And it was just the subtlety of it that was just amazing. Like his main character being like, like a stereotypical guy with guns helmet, but then having Skittles falling out of a pouch that just said so much about the character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's a big one, and he's worked on a lot of cool shit that I kind of follow because I'm just like a bit of a fanboy.
Yep.
And I still go back to his work and it's that thing where obviously I went through like a small phase of trying to paint like super realistic, like headed and stuff like that. Another guy's like, I think everyone's favorite, like that guy Kikai Kotaki, who did all the Guild Wars 2 artwork, and he made like all the designs for that. His silhouette and fantasy design work is just amazing because it's got this whole weird abstract brush type feel to it, but somehow it comes together, and you'll like look at it from a distance and be like, this is the most impactful kind of like image I've seen. And then when you look at it up close, you're like, this is just nothing but brushstrokes that look weird, but somehow work really well together as an overall design.
Yeah.
So guys like that, there's like, I mean, I've got a whole art folder that's like just called Inspiring Art that I kind of like pick from ArtStation and like CG Hub when that was still around, and DeviantArt that's got like over like 10,000 images that I kind of go through and just check out.
I can't believe the amount of amazing artists like I'm following right now. I go to ArtStation almost every day.
Dude, totally.
And I will follow probably 10, 20 people.
That's like the beginning of my day, man. Every day I come into work at like 9 or whatever, have a coffee, and finish my coffee by going through ArtStation and just checking shit out.
Yep.
So there's a lot that I can't even think of the names of, but definitely those two are some pretty top dogs where I'm just like, holy shit. Another guy that I can think of is just Dylan Cole.
Yep.
Who's a matte painter who did all the matte paintings for like Avatar and shit like that, and like Tron and like just crazy shit. And he's composition wise, from like an illustrative standpoint, is just fucking unbelievable. You look at his work and it's still one of those things where, you know, you get better as an artist, and some artists that you used to look up to, you don't look up to so much anymore because you can kind of understand what they're doing and how they've done it, and you can break it down. But he's one of those dudes where I look at his work and I'm like, how the fuck did you even like? I can't comprehend it, and I think that's one of those things where you're just like, fuck, you can appreciate it for what it is, as opposed to like trying to technically be like, okay, how did they get to this point?
That's cool.
So yeah, definitely those three are probably like my top inspirations there.
Dude,
So,
awesome. Yeah, I'm sure we could do like fill up an entire podcast talking about them.
Probably.
Do you have many, man?
Actually, not really. I was thinking like I tend to just look at other games rather than specific artists.
So No Man's Sky. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Get ready for Path of Exile's future.
Yep.
We're gonna have
procedural generated monsters.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna have bouncing strawberries.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you, Ed? Do you have any like animators that you follow or anything like?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of South Park. Their animation.
It shows.
Yeah, no, I think coming monsters are gonna take walk cycles from them.
They key on twos as well in South Park.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, no, I don't really follow animators. I don't know if I should or not. I mean, animation, you just kind of take it from everything that moves, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's animals, there's other monsters, there's,
Real life.
I don't really have an answer for that.
I think the main difference being is that like at least following 2D artists and stuff, it's super individualistic and it's super easy to tell style wise who's different and why things are different. Whereas like if you're following like, it gets harder when you get into like 3D art as well. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely 3D artists out there that I've seen that I've been inspired by, but there's nowhere near as much as there is like 2D guys. And I think it's just because you've got a lot more to play around with, whereas with 3D you've kind of got like a limited set of tools that you can use to do this kind of shit, and it's a lot less exaggerated in a way, I guess. I'm not sure, but I think it's the same with animators. Like you know the South Park animation style, but you could never put your finger on like who was like the animator that did it, and it's the same with like Pixar guys. Like you understand that it's fucking amazing animation, but it's not stylized to one specific person, whereas like you can see like a Dan Lovesy piece and you can be like, okay, I know from the get-go that's who did that. And you know what I mean? So
you're not saying like, I like the 3 seconds of Wall-E where this specific animator worked on it.
Exactly.
Well, because that's the thing with an animation project is that everyone has to come together to animate the same way. Otherwise it just looks weird.
Whereas you can base the entire art direction based off one artist, and then every other artist conforms to that art style for a project. So it's a lot different, I think.
So I guess then a more correct question for animation would be like, what studio style do you kind of...
Well, I mean, for Path of Exile, I look at other games. And, like, you know, if they did something, like, specifically attacks, if they achieved good looking attack with like a lot of impact, yeah, I'll look at that and go, what made that successful, and apply that. Look at Diablo 3 a lot.
I think you kind of touched on it in the last podcast when you were talking about that demon winged thing, and you were saying you've referenced gorillas and things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Animals.
So it's again from
It's
pulling
just-
from real life again.
Yeah, because a lot of how a creature moves is dictated by how long its limbs are, how heavy it is, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like animation, you can't just be like, I want this thing to move like this. Yeah, like I want this giant gorilla to be skipping around like a little 12-year-old girl. It's like, it's not that easy, you know.
Yep.
You've got to obey gravity and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Physics.
Geez. Yeah, there's way too many people for me to name. Like, just go to ArtStation.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many levels to appreciate art as well. There's like, there is the idea, that entire concept thing, where it's not so much executed well, but it's this stupid idea of like a frog, bear, cave monster, and it's just just like, this works.
You appreciate it for different reasons, eh? There's definitely artists out there that like I could look at where I think like I don't like what is being painted, but the way it's painted I like. Whereas then I can like the idea of a painting or certain elements that you just take away from different things, color palettes and shit like that. So shape designs and stuff. So you pick and choose the veins of gold of each artist from what you do, and you try and put it into your own work, but in your own way. So yeah, I can totally get that, you know?
Yeah. So anyone on ArtStation, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That whole front page is always going to be filled up with shit that's just going to blow your fucking mind.
Does,
So-
man, ArtStation should have a random button.
They do.
They do?
Yeah.
Well, they have an app, and do you use that app?
Yeah, I
The
use
one
that
where
shit.
you just open up a new tab, and it's just like 5 seconds an image. A
Yeah.
new
Cool.
image will refresh.
That's cool.
That's like always on my second monitor.
That's pretty cool.
It's it's incredible. And like when I'll see something out the corner of my eye, I'll just click over to it and just look at the guy's work.
yeah.
And they're normally a legend.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This thing about ArtStation is that the front page of that is just filled with insane shit. Like, there's so many amateur artists that upload to it, but it never makes it anywhere because you
That's
just don't
good.
see anything. So whenever you're on there, it's just going to be nothing but inspiring shit. It's such a good site.
Because that's kind of a bummer with some art websites where they get over...
Or like DeviantArt.
Yeah, where they get
terrible. Yeah.
too filled with just...
Stupid shit like ponies.
Yeah.
You know, it's really good when you trample the newbies.
Yes. Yeah.
Just squash them down.
Yeah, man. Just make sure they know. Just make them give up.
Well, it's just like it should be curated,
Yeah.
right? It shouldn't just be like here's my I don't know, my brony fan fiction picture, and it looks like terrible.
No, it's definitely because I used way back in high school. I was on DeviantArt, and it does suck when it's like, you know, the main page, and it's just like, well, that was clearly just drawn in a classroom.
That's what
Yeah.
DeviantArt is.
I mean, it's
though.
a cool
DeviantArt is like the amateur site, though, isn't it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I'm still on there because I've had an account there for ages, but you get weird fan followings on DeviantArt that kind of promote shit that you're just kind of like, what the fuck is this, man? Like you see like a whole bunch of animes of like super fat like furry things. Do you know what I mean? And you guaranteed to go on DeviantArt, and there's one on the front page at least once a day. People that draw other people tickling other people's feet is another massive thing. My Little Pony's a massive thing, and it's not like amazing art. It's just the fact that you got all these kind of weirdos like following it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is DeviantArt. I think is really approaching just becoming a hentai website.
Very closely, yeah.
Like it's
very closely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in a few more years, like you're gonna have to be 18 before you can,
yeah,
can
dude,
go
that's
to that
totally
website.
it.
Like,
That's totally it. But, yeah.
Dude, ArtStation, one thing I will say, I don't think I've told either of you guys, but I have an ArtStation and a Sketchfab like profile.
Yeah.
oh shit, what
What
do
do
you
you
put
upload
on
to
there?
that shit?
The thing is, I'm so afraid of posting my work to ArtStation because the caliber is so high
Yeah,
that
it's
I'm
massive,
just like,
bro, yeah.
I just trial it with Sketchfab stuff.
Dude, I do the same thing with DeviantArt.
because I'm so scared with like just posting
Yeah,
my
it's-
work to ArtStation.
It's fine, Sav. You'll just get trampled down.
I know.
Don't worry
and
about it.
I'm
Fine.
afraid of it, bro. All right, that is episode 44. There's probably a bonus episode. I'm gonna wrap it up, dude.
Yep, cool.
All right, you can contact us frontseatquestions@gmail.com, @frontseatcast on Twitter. We're on facebook.com/frontseatcast. Thank you, George.
No worries, man. It was a pleasure coming on. It's always a good laugh.
Thank you, Ed.
It's a waste of time.
You asshole. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
tell you what, man, kids nowadays are getting spoiled with like they don't need to rely on imagination or anything.
Yeah,
Like,
they're just given. I actually no, I think that is something that is the thing with like modern games, like with fancy graphics and shit. Like, I look at the games I used to play, like Baldur's Gate,
mhm.
Dude,
and
totally.
shit.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just this like pretty static dude
Little
walking
pixel.
around, and like your attack animations are budget as fuck. And
I think that's a massive thing as well. I think that was like the biggest thing that you saw that in was like RPGs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the best thing about old school RPGs that you just don't get anymore is the fact that you had to make up the graphics with your imagination, so you kind of put yourself in the world a bit more.
Yeah,
Whereas
for
when
sure.
everything's explained to you much more through graphics or whatever, it doesn't leave any room for you to imagine anything else. And
Yeah.
that's what I don't like about like the latest Final Fantasies and stuff, eh? You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy
Yeah.
7 and like even 10 were awesome because of that. The same thing with like Legend of Legaia and Legend of Dragoon. Whereas now it's just like, nah, man, these RPGs aren't, those
But it's-
JRPGs at least aren't the same.
It's funny too because back in the day, right, when we were playing those and we were filling in the shitty graphics with our imagination,
Yeah.
we just remember like
It being
that
awesome.
version of it. So
Yeah,
then when you
yeah.
go back to it, you're like, oh god, what,
Yeah,
what is wrong with
I got
this?
that with Gran Turismo 2.
Yeah.
Do you remember when that first
Yeah,
came out? And everyone was
dude.
like, bro, look at this, bro. This is like the most fucking
Yeah.
realistic shit ever. And then look back at it now, it's like a square.
Yeah.
You're like, these textures are massive. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it's like I remember this way different. How is this? Dude,
Super
I
realistic.
did that with not too long ago with Diablo 2.
Yeah,
Like when
yeah.
Diablo 3 came out, was announced, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to get into Diablo 2 again. I loaded it up and I was like, oh god. Like the screen resolution was tiny, like everything just looked pixelated. I'm like, something's wrong. I must be on like low graphics or something. It's like, nope, this is as high as it'll go. Holy crap.
That's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah.
Take what you can get at.
There was a guy. He was talking about how porn going to the internet has pretty much ruined like kids nowadays because you can't. Well,
I mean, it's not just kids, it's ruined.
but it's like you don't have to fucking like. The only way you'd see a naked person was like through maybe a nudie mag you found in fucking the bushes or some
Oh,
shit.
dude, I found it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember finding nudie mags in the bushes,
Dude,
like
same
legit
here.
as a thing. Yeah, when I was
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
kid.
same.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Dude, a mate of mine had a bunch underneath his house.
Like, did he know about it?
Yeah, he found them, but
I mean-
they'd been there for like years and years. But the
It's like
weird
black
thing,
and white.
there was
That
no,
vintage shit, eh?
they were like they were probably from like the 80s or something like that.
Yeah.
But the weird thing was they also had like bits cut out of them, and I was like, what?
Oh,
we
shit.
had this thing where I used to live in a rural area, and me and my mate were walking up the street one day, and someone had torn up a whole bunch of porno mags and left them like all over the side of the road. And me and
Yeah.
my mate were going on a run, and that's how we found them. And it turned out that we went on like 3 runs that day to go and collect up like all these pornos. and we're like
man.
stuffing these like ripped up pages in our
Yeah.
pockets trying to put them back together. And we went and hid them under the hay bales, like
Shit.
outside of the backyard of our place, because we're like, we can't have this inside.
Oh, man.
And we were like so stoked because it's like, bro, we've got like this is the first time we've seen like chicks naked and shit like that. And then it rained. and it all fucking
fuck.
just disintegrated, bro. We're like, oh no, what the fuck? Oh, one day. Yeah, man.
Fucking good old days.
Good shit.
yeah, apparently there's like teenagers with erectile dysfunctions.
Isn't that
because
fucked up?
yeah, because like reality just doesn't match up to porn.
Yeah.
yeah, hard
yeah,
out.
Fucking crazy.
Set those standards too high, like No Man's Sky, eh?
Shit.
That's what it is, bro.
Man, No Man's Sky is a mirror of the porn industry.
Just no depth whatsoever.
Yeah,
eh?
there's
It's all on the
depth, it's all
surface,
shallow,
bro.
it's all surface. Yeah.
Shitty you are.
That would be a hell of a
Erectile
review to leave for
dysfunction.
me. Fuck, that's awesome.
Well, like the scary thing is now, like, the scary thing will be in the future with like VR, right?
Yeah.
Like if everyone's got VR in their house,
Why would you leave?
it's
Yeah.
it's that
it's
future
Go on
Futurama
holiday in your
episode.
living room,
what
bro.
problems are gonna like come up for that sort of thing in the future?
I don't even want to think about it because I know that's like my dark 50s. That's what's going to be for me. End up old and alone
Oh,
in my house
man.
with like a fucking VR headset
Shit,
and just
yeah.
like a whole
Oh,
bunch
shit.
of fucking...
You'll be in a retirement
yeah,
refrigerator
yeah.
or something.
Oh fuck!
That is the future of retirement homes, just like rows of old people sitting in massive
So they're
ass chairs with a
yeah.
plugged into
headset
the
on.
Matrix,
man.
eh?
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
like something like nourishment.
man.
and you're just like
Just
living
baby
there.
food and shit are getting shoved right into your veins, bro.
Guys,
Yeah, and you're like parked on a toilet.
that was an episode of Futurama.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, was that
yeah.
the old people planet?
Yeah, he took him to the near Death Star,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was just like everyone was plugged into like a matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the old people.
That
Right.
sounds way better than like
Near Death Star?
than retirement homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man.
Oh, just because you don't want to deal with old people?
Well, I just
They're unsightly?
Jesus.
because I would be the old person. Like
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
like me being an old person. I'd rather go into like a near death star than a fucking retirement.
Yeah, because you're using your virtual body, not your shitty
Yeah,
real
yeah.
life decrepit body.
I don't want to deal with the decay that's going on.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what's going to happen is there'll be a power cut or some shit and you're like taken right back.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
you're just going to be like, yeah, you just wipes out the entire retirement village.
I'll just be like, where are my breasts?
Where's my foxtail?